Good evening. And it's good to see everyone. Welcome to the first Tuesday meeting of the Liberty County Board of Commissioners. Mr. Brown, has the meeting been properly advertised for press?
Yes, sir, it has.
All right, thank you, sir. Good to see everyone. And just in way of announcement, we do meet first Tuesday and the third Thursday, first Tuesday, 6 o'clock, third Thursday at 5 o'clock. You're welcome to attend any and all those meetings. Also, our meetings are live streamed, so should you not be able to attend personally, you can check us out via live stream at your convenience. We're happy to have you today to participate in the meeting of the Liberty County Board of Commissioners. Now, we got a full house, so we're going to try to do what we have to do decently and in order, as we say, and get the business done for the citizens of Liberty County, Georgia. And I appreciate everybody's cooperation in that effort. We're going to try to move expeditiously. We have several proclamations to do, and then we know we have a big rezoning measure. Mr. Brown, you all have circulated the sign-up sheet? Okay, all right, sir. All right, so please, if you plan to speak, please sign up. At this time, Bishop Kendall Page will come. He's here to lead us in our prayer and our Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand now, if you will, for the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, we come to you this evening to thank you for life and life more abundantly. Thank you for air in our bodies, God, and activities of our limbs. We thank you for this city, this Liberty County, all the counties in this region, God. We thank you for the state of Georgia and all the other states. And we thank you from the White House to our house. We pray, God, that you will give this commissioner, this body of believers, God, and body of people, the wisdom they need, Father, to conduct business here in Liberty County. We thank you for all you're doing in this county, God, and the lives that's going to be changed because of the decisions that's being made. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner's Cup Trophy, as most of you know, if you don't know, the commissioners present, I forgot how many years now, a trophy to the winner of the Bradwell Liberty game. That game was held not this weekend, but the past weekend, and the Bradwell Tigers were victorious. So we had to have the nameplate inscribed in there for Bradwell, so now we will deliver it to the school at our earliest convenience, and they will have this to hold until next year this time. And then, let's see, after X number of times, then if they, then they get to keep it, and we start all over again. But this one will go this year to the Bravo Institute Tigers, and we congratulate them on their victory. Somebody say, "Go Tigers!" Okay, how come we put them for the Panthers too? For the Panthers too. All right, thank you, sir. All right, let's see how we're gonna do this, Mr. Brown. Let's see if. Can we combine, or have we combined them already? So the firefighter appreciation, that stands by itself. St. Catherine's Native Plant, I know that's Dr. Bell, right? All right, I think the others are gonna stand on their own too. All right, let's just start with the firefighters appreciation. Okay.
This is a proclamation declaring September as Firefighter Appreciation Month, whereas the Liberty County Fire Services recognizes the benefits derived from the hard work, sacrifices, and unwavering dedication that the fire service members have contributed throughout this country, including the communities of Liberty County. And whereas the Liberty County Fire Services, with an unwavering commitment, is dedicated to saving lives and protecting the community through prevention, preparedness, and emergency response in a timely, courteous, and effective manner. And whereas the role of the firefighter today is one of dedication, commitment, sacrifice, and willingness to put their lives on the line. And whereas firefighters continue to play an integral role in protecting the health and well-being of our community members, preventing and preparing for emergencies when they arise. And now, therefore, the Liberty County Board of Commissioners is hereby proclaimed September as Firefighter Appreciation Month and urges all community members to honor the firefighters who paid the ultimate sacrifice for those they serve. Done and proclaimed this 3rd day of September, 2024, Liberty County, Georgia.
Okay. You want to speak, Chief?
Chairman, Commissioners, I just want to come tonight and say thank you all for having this proclamation to not only our career firefighters, our part-time firefighters, our volunteers, and anybody, to include all of y'all who have supported us through this matter. And we just ask that during the month of September, we remember September 11th and what happened, and if you're out and about and you see a firefighter, it doesn't matter if it's with Liberty County Fire or Hinesville or anybody from our neighboring agencies, we just ask that you thank them, because a lot of time is missed between families and personal lives and loved ones, missing holidays and birthdays, and it is something that we want to make sure that they are recognized about. So, thank y'all.
And you do more than put out fires.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Tell them, give just 2 minutes worth of that, of the other duties that falls under.
So Liberty County Fire Services is that we offer more than just fire service or just a fire service. We respond to approximately 80% of our call volume is medical calls, varying from respiratory distresses, cardiac symptoms, CPRs in progress, gunshot wounds, seizures, all the way up to vehicle fires, fire alarms, structure fires, wrecks on the interstate, wrecks on major arteries. Very time-consuming calls. And one common thing is we get referred to as fire and EMS. We're not. We're two separate entities. We have a fire world and we have an EMS world. And we all have the same mission as for the community, for the end customer, regardless if they're here in Liberty County or just passing through. But we have two different mission sets, but we're here to support one another.
Thank you, sir. I want you to share that. A citizen told me maybe a month ago now that we need to take more opportunity to educate, so thank you for helping to educate. And this commission can be proud that we, 3 or 4 years ago, took the opportunity and took on the, for lack of a better word, responsibility to stand up a county-wide fire department so that wherever you live in unincorporated Liberty County, you can call 911 and somebody's coming. And did not always have that.
I will tell you, Chairman and Commissioners, since I've been on board, we've gone from 58 square miles to just over 300 square miles. And y'all have been the driving force behind that, so I do thank y'all.
Thank you so much. Come on up and we'll take our photo. Okay. And then we'll prepare for the St. Catherine's Beach sweep next. Okay. Commissioners, you want to?
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. We thank you for letting us be able to come before you again. We have 2 proclamations that we're going to do. We'll talk while we're down here,
Okay.
and then come up there and take the 2 votes like last
All right.
time.
Thank you.
All right. So the first is the beach sweep. So one thing that we get to do as Keep Liberty Beautiful is help to educate and make our community aware of different things that happen in our environment. And Rivers Alive give us that opportunity to bring water into what we talk about. So the beach sweep is when we get to take volunteers with the volunteer boat captains, because we can't walk to St. Catherine's, you only can get there by boats. So by the volunteer boat captains would take our volunteers over to St. Catherine's, where we can clean up anything that may have been left by the people who visit the beach. But sadly enough, it's also the things that wash up on the beach, and that starts with us. Anyone that may drop something on the ground, and it goes into the water system or into the sewers or the drain holes, that goes into our waterway, which ends up on our beaches. So we make a point to go to our beach, which is St. Catherine's here in Liberty County, and clean it up more than once a month, but we make a big event. And that time is this Saturday. So if you're available, come out and join us. We'll meet at the Half Moon Arena at 8 a.m. And usually we're done by 12, 1 o'clock. We also provide lunch. So you get to have a hot dog and some chips or some candy or whatever out there. And we always use, this time we're going to be using Capri Suns to give out, because we actually reuse those Capri Suns and make art and different things out of them. And that's Miss Britta who does that for us. So that's the beach sweep.
Okay.
This is a proclamation for St. Catherine Beach Sweep. Whereas Georgia is fortunate to have a diverse wealth of natural waterways, including 9 major estuaries draining watersheds, originating as far away as western North Carolina, over 100 linear miles of beaches dotted with more than 14 barrier and sea islands, over 368,000 acres of salt marsh and freshwater wetlands covering a quarter of our state's land area. Whereas aquatic debris chokes our waterways and oceans, threatening the lives of thousands of animals and birds and putting human health and safety at risk. And whereas as part of the Keep Georgia Beautiful Foundation, St. Catherine's Beach Sweep Day is the largest one-day cleanup of Georgia's beaches. And whereas for each of the past 12 years, volunteers have collected an average of 50 tons of debris while raising awareness of the importance of being good stewards of our environment. Now therefore, I, Donald L. Lovett, do hereby proclaim September 7th, 2024 as St. Catherine's Beach Sweep Day throughout Liberty County. So declared on this day of September 3rd, 2024, and encourage all Georgians to work together to clean our beaches.
Thank you. And then if you have looked at our website on keeplarrybeautiful.org, you would have noticed that we're starting to talk about plants. We've been talking about pollinators for about the last couple of months, but now we're talking about just planting plants and letting you know which plants are native, because native plants thrive better in their own environment. So in front of you, we have put either a pollinator plant or a plant that we believe would thrive in our environment. I hope that you have a chance to go plant them and then give us some updates about that, and take some pictures and put them on our Facebook page. I think everyone would love to see your progress about that. So it's, so throughout the week, you'll see that on our Facebook page and our website. And then on Thursday at the farmer's market, we'll be handing out plants. And then also for Saturday, from Friday to Saturday, if we have any left over, you'll be able to come to the office and pick up a free plant. And I do have to, if it's okay, give a shout out to Lowe's. We were only planning or had the budget for maybe 30 plants, and because of what they had and what we can do, we are now giving out 326 plants due to what we can buy, and that was the partnership with Lowe's. So we have some plants, and we hope to make sure we be able to give them out to our community.
Anytime somebody being a community partner, give them a shout out.
Thank you, sir.
Shout out. Mr. Brown.
This is a proclamation for native plant awareness. Whereas native plants are an important part of Georgia's natural heritage and history, and whereas Georgia's native plants are indigenous to our southeast region and have adapted and evolved over many years to flourish in the unique geography, hydrology, and microclimates of our state, and whereas more than 3,600 native plant species make for diverse state flora, making it 7th in the nation for vascular plant diversity. These plants grow in a variety of habitats, including forests, swamps, grasslands, beaches, floodplains, mountains, coastal sandhills, and swamps. And whereas native plants provide high-quality food and shelter for Georgia's native wildlife, including birds, butterflies, bees, and other pollinators, and both game and non-game species. And whereas native plants and their derivatives provide food, medicine, and other essentials, Georgia has benefited from economic impact of native plants. And whereas gardens and landscapes composed of Georgia's native plants conserve water, save energy, and reduce pollutants and pesticides in comparison to turf grass. And whereas the Georgia office of the National Audubon Society, as well as other organizations and businesses, including nurseries and retail garden centers, work to expand the market for our native plants. And whereas by cultivating Georgia's native plants, we honor our heritage, sustain the beauty and benefits of our environmental resources, and preserve a natural link to wildland areas, both past and present. Now therefore, I, Donald L. Lovett, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Georgia, do hereby proclaim September 7th, 2024 as Native Plant Awareness Day. So declared on this 3rd day of September 2024, I encourage all of our citizens to celebrate native plants.
All right, if you all will come. Thank you, sir.
We're gonna do the beach sweep first. Oh.
I just follow your orders. St. Catherine's Beach Sweep. Who's gonna grab?
We need to get closer.
You may be grabbing it.
Grab the plant. It lives.
Oh, that was familiar. Oh, no, that was for the other.
Oh, that was for the beach
See?
sweep.
Right now, we're native plants. Oh, there we go. You want me to hold it, or you got it?
You wanna bundle that? You wanna hold that? You wanna hold that?
Can't see me? Can't see her. Oh, okay. I did, but.
I got some help.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, dear. Thank you, guys.
Do you see your buddy coming down?
Yes. How'd you do it? How'd you do it? Thank you all. As the community grows, let's keep some greenery. All right. National Hispanic Heritage Month. Chambers, okay. Bobby, you the face?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. On today, the Liberty County Chamber of Commerce would like to thank you all for this opportunity to recognize not only National Hispanic Heritage Month, but also our Hispanic business owners within our community as well. I'm not going to bore you all with all the details. I already included that in the proclamation Mr. Joey's going to read to us in a little bit. But we also, on September 18th, from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., we will host a happy hour in honor of our Hispanic business owners. This is proudly sponsored by McManamy, Jackson, and Hollis, and we are partnering with them, and we will be at the Parrot and Frog. So we encourage you all to come out and join us in celebrating our Hispanic business owners. Also on today, we are very thankful and grateful to have Councilman Jose Ortiz with the City of Hinesville, who is also City of Hinesville's first ever Hispanic council member. And so we would like to thank him for his support on today and joining us.
He here? He's here. Oh, there he is. There he is. There he is.
And hopefully the council is not going to get on me for saying some of these words, but I'm going to give it a good shot. Proclamation, September 15th through October 15th, 2024, declared as National Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month, known as Mes de Herencia Hispana, is celebrated nationwide from September 15th through October 15th each year. The observation started in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week and was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 to cover the month at which it is celebrated today. Whereas understanding that September 15th is significant because it's the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence days on September 16th and 18th, respectively. Whereas the day of September 15th is significant because it's the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence days on September 16th and September 18th. Also, Columbus Day, or Dia de la Raza, which is October 12th, falls in this 30-day period. And whereas there are over 375,000 Hispanic-owned employer businesses located across all 50 states and the District of Columbia, nearly 1 in 4 new businesses are Hispanic-owned. And whereas the nearly 5 million Hispanic-owned businesses in the United States contribute more than $800 billion to the American economy annually. Whereas Liberty County is committed to recognizing Hispanic, Latino, and Latinx culture and heritage as an important part of the city and county and its strong, inclusive community. Now, therefore, I, Donald Lovett, Chairman of the Liberty County Board of Commissioners, Liberty County, Georgia, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2024, as National Hispanic Heritage Month. In testimony whereof, I have unto set my hand, caused to be affixed, the Great Seal of Liberty County, Georgia, this 3rd day of September, 2024.
Commissioners, one more time.
Hey, how you doing again, man?
He gets to stand up around rude people. Taking over the world.
Yep, you got her?
Mr. Mosley wants to move somebody.
That's why he had to put a jacket on.
Come on, just a little bit.
Grab the side, Jose. Grab that side.
Good?
Hold on.
Good, Pat?
One more. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We need to just stay where we're at.
That's it. That's it. Thank you, brother. Does their proclamations before the meeting. I queer some of our folk. They said, no, we like doing it when there's an audience as versus doing it when there's no audience, just the proclamation receiver. So we opted to do ours this way so we can all appreciate the various activities in that county. All right, moving right along. Minutes for the August meetings will require our approval.
I'm moving, Mr. Chair.
Motion second, we approve the minutes for the month of August. Any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands, please. Minutes are approved. Thank you. Not wasting any time, County Attorney, Mr. Kelly Davis.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Before you is the agreement between the sheriff, the Board of Education, and the county, providing for the funding and operation of the county SRO program. I think everyone's familiar with the agreement, and hopefully all your questions have been answered. But if you still have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But it provides for the funding by the Board of Education for the majority of the positions. The sheriff will continue to fund one position and provide one vehicle, but all other program costs will be funded by the Board of Education. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for our attorney? There be none, the chair entertain a motion.
And if I could, I'd just ask for the board to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement, subject to whatever revisions I might recommend and might be approved by the chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, what he said.
All right. Is there a second? Yeah, motion and second to the motion that will be crafted by Mr. Brown, County Attorney. Any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands, please. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
One.
One? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw your hand go up.
No, we did not.
Did not? Okay. All right. Finance report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'm here to report tonight on the county's June 2024 financial statements. Finance has performed a soft close of the books for year end. However, additional adjustments and year-end close items may need to be made to fully get the trial balances ready for the auditors. They are expected to come mid-October. As of the end of June, we have collected approximately 102% of our budgeted revenues for the general fund. And I'm happy to say that we have expended right at 100%. So we have a surplus to our fund balance this year. There are a couple reasons for this year's surplus, but it's the result of the county collecting more revenues than budgeted and spending less expenditures than were budgeted. And if you turn the page to the balance sheet, at the end of June, the county has almost $31.5 million in total assets, $5.5 million in total liabilities, and $26 million in fund balance. We currently have 4.8 months of operating expenditures in our unreserved fund balance. This is down slightly from last year, but last year was an anomaly. We had, at this time last year, we had about $6 million left in our 2022 bond proceeds that were sitting in cash that we had yet to spend down. Additionally, our monthly expenditure average is more in the current year than last year due to operating expenses and increased overall budget. As part of the year-end close, Finance has gone through and made some of those year-end budget adjustments for the general fund. On the general fund departmental expenditures report, you will see no current departments that exceed their budget for June. These adjustments were made to comply with our state law, to adopt a balanced budget, and to not have any single departments that exceed their adopted budgets for the year. And I have included a summary of those departments for which we had to make those budget adjustments. But the excess in the general fund revenues, as well as other departments who did not use all of their budget, were used to cover the departmental overages. But these, I'm more than certain that we have discussed these departments in previous meetings over the fiscal year. And if you have any questions on those, please let me know. Let's see. Turning the page to solid waste. Currently, for the year ending June 30th, we have revenues of $4.5 million, and this exceeds our original budget of $4.3 million. Expenditures year-to-date for solid waste fund, $4.2 million, and our budget was $4.3 million. So currently, we have our revenue over expenditures for the year around $292,000. Additionally, there are no departments in the solid waste fund that are exceeding their budgets for the year.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Samantha, what about the, in solid waste, the amount of money that's still owed out to the county?
Yes,
for
sir.
Solid waste, where's that, how does that reflect in this account?
We record that as revenue when it's billed out and it hits our accounts receivable. So currently, we do have, it's reflected in the balance sheet in the current receivables. But if we don't receive it in a reasonable period of time, then we have to record an allowance for those receivables to kind of offset that if we don't collect it. But it is included in our 2024 revenues because we did bill it. We just have not yet collected it.
And there'll be other outstanding streams of revenue too that'll come post end of fiscal year.
Yes, sir. We defer, or we have until August 31st to collect on those June revenues before we have to defer anything to the following fiscal year.
Okay, while I'm asking, what about the election? Have that been taken care of, or is it still hanging out there?
Still hanging out there. We have been in discussions with the city of Hinesville to try to get that paid. And I haven't heard anything from Walthourville.
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Brown, I mean, how long are we going to let this go on? Or what's the next step to recuperating that amount?
I would tell you with the city of Hinesville there, we've reached agreement on the final amount to be received, and in fact, that's fixing to be billed. The other entities would be entirely up to the commission to decide what action to take on
When was the last conversation with Walthamville? Been a while?
The last email exchange on that was probably 3 months ago.
Okay, so it's time to renew that then. Okay, let's just schedule a meeting, I guess, with the mayor.
About time.
Yeah. All right. Explain, if you will, to
Yes, sir.
the congregation, how we, the 292, how we use that, so they'll leave here with an understanding of that.
For solid waste?
No, the 292 over, revenues over expenses. Did I read that right? Did I?
The net income for the solid waste for the fiscal year?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so solid waste continually has equipment and infrastructure and those kind of things, repairs. They have to replace garbage trucks and that kind of thing. So any amount that we are able to have a net income, so to speak, is put into capital for solid waste.
Okay.
And there's a continuing list for that sort of thing.
Can you call that an enterprise fund, or it operates, it's a cousin to an enterprise fund?
It is an enterprise
Okay,
fund, yes, sir.
okay, okay, all right. Which means it has to take care of itself?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right. All right, any other questions for Ms. Richardson?
Yeah, I was wanting to ask Samantha, where are we at on the bonds for the Justice Center? How many more?
Those will be paid off at the end of SPLOST 7, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Is that right?
Justice Center? Yes, sir.
What's the annual rate now?
Oh, gosh.
I can check on
Yeah,
that.
we can
I
double check.
don't remember that, but it's a good rate. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes,
The
sir.
interest is,
yeah.
Yeah, it was in the threes, low threes,
Yeah,
high
it was low.
twos at the time.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We ought to
All right.
be able to go back and ask it to be in the twos.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Any other questions, please follow with Ms. Richardson. Engineer, Mr. Long. Yeah, no, we did. Samantha, you don't want to say anything about the sales tax? Commissioner Frazier asked it. I mean, I think we.
We had another great month for sales tax seven. It was our highest collection month. Two spots, it was over $1 million.
Okay, great, thank you.
Good evening.
Oh, sir.
I'll try to run through these pretty quickly. The pickleball court bid opening, proposal opening has been rescheduled for September 5th. We had some questions asked and kind of maneuvered a few things around to make sure we had everything covered on it. The Limerick Road overlay, the signal, we spoke to DOT today, and they're waiting on Atlanta to say okay. They're expecting the okay any day. They had actually expected it already. So, but we are continually checking on it. So, we did talk to Andy Westbury about it today. The Village Road repair, that bid opening is September 17th. Miller Park Pavilion is going well. They've already started digging out the footers and moving forward with the footers on that. Will Cemetery Road, we sent the advertisement to the paper this week, today actually, so it should show up in the paper Thursday next week. Islands Highway safety improvements, I gave you a layout. We're looking at an alternate layout that shifts it a little bit to avoid some of the landscaping at the Development Authority at the peril of the big power towers. So, but we'll bring that to you when we have another layout going on for that. The Public Works Road Department improvements are moving along just fine. Most of the concrete is done there. We are in the process of completing the lead survey for the water system. EPD's basically said that all water systems have to make a report on the status of lead in their systems by October 16th. So we have gone through and we have identified that all of Liberty County system is lead-free up to the meters. We have several homes that we don't know the service material for, so we have to send out letters to the homeowners to say, hey, can you check out, tell me what you got, what is your water material inside your house? So if they get a survey in the mail that is coming from Liberty County, we did give them a location to send the survey back to us by the end of September. And it's just so that we can make sure that we fulfill this survey for turning it into EPD by October 16th. So if you get calls and somebody says, hey, what's this? We just got to make sure we don't have the use of lead in our water system is eliminated. Live Oak Drive, out there surveying, working hard on it. My crew chief lives on the road, so he's all excited about doing that.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Islands Highway Box Culvert. So they've started out there today, and I know there are a lot of folks here today that live out on Colonel's Island. So this is going to be a box culvert replacement. It'll be a double 10 by 10, so it's going to be some big concrete pipes. There's some shiny pipe out there right now that will be used as a temporary bypass because we got to build coffer dams and let the water go around so that we can get in there and have a dry area to work to be able to set those box culverts as we do it. So there are variable message boards out there saying, hey, expect delays, and very shortly we will have red lights where it's cut down to one lane of traffic, and the red lights will, this side stops while this goes and this side stops while that goes. So that'll go on for a couple of months as they're going through this process. So they've already submitted shop drawings to us. We were working with them on those shop drawings, so they're trying to make this project move quickly. Now, we're not going to open it up when we've got a hurricane coming. So we've had several conversations about that.
Trent, are you, on that box cover, how wide, how long is it? Is it
70 feet long.
And what was the width of the existing road now?
Well, the existing one is right at 45, 50 feet. One reason I'm having to go longer is I've got to replace it half at a time. And so I've got to build the upstream side a little bit longer so that I can move traffic over the new box culvert while I replace the downstream side.
So this wouldn't, you were looking into the future, and let's say we ever come to this, that we could widen that road. Will we have to add on more?
Well, it depends on how much extra we widen the road. So if we go to a rural section, then we'll have to get additional right-of-way, and there's lots of things we'll have to do. If you just add a turning lane or a passing lane in that area, we have plenty of room to add that. So, but full 4 or 5 lanes through there, there's a lot we'd have to do. But, the traffic counts and the projections should not take us that way at all. So.
You know how I feel about that traffic count.
I do. I understand. Okay. Things are going well with the roundabout at Barrington Ferry and 17. The water system west of the railroad bids on September 12th. And the EMA administration building should come out for advertising shortly. So I think that's it tonight.
The Miller Park Station,
Yes, sir.
between you and Mr. Brown, my sole issue is the bird pond, the bird bath out front. How's that coming?
One in where it's dirt,
On the left hand, on both sides of the driveway.
yeah, where we have a lot of standing water in the grassed areas and all.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We're looking at that. I will work on that a little bit more, make sure that everything is graded and draining the way it's supposed to. The areas that are sited are working well. One thing that I do know is we had to try to tone back the watering because it was, the amount of water we were putting out there was a little too much for the soil to be able to absorb. So we got them to back off on that a little bit. So hopefully it should be getting a little bit better.
Is it the grass areas or is it the asphalt? I thought you all, at one point, said there was some
Yeah,
asphalt.
Grass area,
Okay.
it was actually turning green out there, not the grass, but just that water sitting. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yes, sir. Everything should be graded where it drains away.
okay.
It was kind of hard to see some of the areas that were not sodded because the grass had gotten, knee high. And we did have them mow it, so we'll double check and make sure. And there is, telephone company still has a telephone line through the old culvert. So when they had to relocate some stuff, they just ran the line through the old culvert. And, our contractor can't do his part of the contract to move that pipe because telephone line's in the way, and we've been calling and calling to get that moved. So we're kind of trying to struggle through some tail ends on that.
Oh, and the grass on Bill Carter Road is still not up to
I still
par.
haven't paid them for it, so we'll probably go ahead and just take that money and go ahead and get somebody else to fix it.
Okay. Let's go ahead and proceed with that and get
Okay.
that out of the way.
All righty, I can do that.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for Mr. Long. Mr. Long, do you know about when the restriping was gonna start for the road, the list that we had?
I skipped right over that. So I apologize, I got sidetracked. So we did take bids on that.
Okay.
So, and the bids came in significantly less than what we had budgeted. So all the roads that you told me about, I have in there.
Okay.
We may need to add some because of how the funding is done.
Right.
So all of you think of roads that you may need to have some additional striping on, let me know.
Okay.
I may have to do some of that to make sure we,
Absorb all that we.
yes.
Will that be this thermoplastic this time? or-
Most of it is high build paint. So all the arrows, letters, symbols are thermoplastic. But the line striping is high build paint.
Okay.
And it has white glass in it to make it a little bit reflective. Okay?
Joey,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's for you or Trent, on the Claudia Lane, we got on Mr. Golden, Fred Golden, do we have, is that Trent or is SAP gonna see that he gets connected down there? Fred?
Once we get all the paperwork done, and I'm not sure where that is, I'll double check tomorrow, because I know we had all that worked out, then it
Yeah.
will be actually SAP that'll make the connection.
SAP will do it, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Brett, you, on the C2 there on your drawing, I guess that's the entrance, it's a little bit magnified there. That's going into the industrial park, right?
So you're talking about this first one that has a lot of brown in the middle of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the new Dorchester Village Road intersection. And that's set up so that the Laurel View track, how they tie in and all of that hits the red light there. Then if you go down on page C3 is where you get to the intersection for the Development Authority where you see the divided highway.
And now, on that, there's gonna be a median,
Yes,
and then you're gonna have a passing lane?
it'll be 2 lanes both ways
Okay.
with turn lanes, additional turn
The
lanes.
turn lane into the industrial park?
Yes, actually, there'll be 2 turn lanes into the industrial park.
Okay, both ways. So that's what I'm saying, you're gonna have them either direction there?
Yes, sir.
You don't have a distance on that, what will it, is it gonna fit within that right of way that's there now?
No, sir.
So how much,
We're needing 45 feet, and we've kind of been working with CMJ properties as well as the forum properties as far as additional right-of-ways with the development that's coming along so that we have reserved enough space for the additional right-of-way that we're going to need.
And is that moving in a positive direction?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
so you are gonna have a light there, you said?
Yes,
Or
sir.
is it just gonna be at the Dorchester?
Yeah, there'll be 2 lights. You'll have a light at the Dorchester Village Road, and you'll have a light at the Liberty County Industrial Authority.
So the traffic going east they'll have a yellow arrow that they can go ahead and go, and then the other trucks going in. That traffic should not, unless they're gonna turn on to Dorchester Village Road, they ought to be able to go straight on to the coast.
So what'll happen is all the different legs will have certain timing that's set up and certain, it will be custom designed for that particular interchange so that everybody can do what they need to do. Do we have a dedicated through lane for like the right turn lane so you don't have to stop when everybody's going into the development authority? No, we don't have that. The traffic numbers don't really present themselves in such a manner that that's going to benefit us in the future.
Right now, it don't.
Right now, it doesn't. That's
So that's something we probably gonna need to.
Yes, sir, we can look at that, and I don't want to say that I'm ruling it out. The numbers just don't say to do that.
No, don't rule it out.
Yes, sir.
That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Joey, when it comes to light, I'm trying to formulate my words here. When it comes to light, all that's going on with Walthamville and them trying to finance their water services, I want us to make sure, if you can reassure us that we have our water system, but we have studies and we keep up with the water rate so that it will never get out of kilter where it's a money-losing venture.
Right.
Am I right?
Where the customer balance.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It should run like an enterprise fund.
It should. And periodically, we have to make adjustments to the water rates to ensure that we're not in a deficit.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. I was with some folk this weekend that came up, and I thought, well, I think we're okay, but let me bring it up.
We are. In fact, we just finished the commission study with Georgia Rural Water Association. You ought to be looking at that shortly.
Okay, all right. Thanks, sir. Thank you, Long. Okay. All right, Mr. Ricketson, are you ready? We need to go into public hearing.
Yes, sir.
Chair, entertain a motion to go into public hearing for rezoning. All in favor, show of hands. We're now in the public hearing session. Okay.
Good evening, Chairman Lovett, members of the commission. Our first zoning petition is a rezoning petition that's been submitted by King's Plantation LLC to rezone 211 acres of land from A1 agricultural to R12 single-family residential for a single-family residential subdivision. This property is located on Kings Road in the unincorporated Liberty County, and you can see there the parcel number. This is the ad in the Coastal Courier and the sign posted on the property. And this is the vicinity map. This is Kings Road, which comes off of Islands Highway. This is all the way down the tip of the peninsula. It's 211 acres, and it's adjacent to the Half Moon community over here, the existing Fig Tree subdivision here, which is an existing subdivision, and then there's some other properties down here off of Timmons View. Just some individual properties there. And this is a zoning map, just showing you how everything is zoned. This property here is zoned, the green reflects that is zoned, currently zoned A1. The surrounding properties there, you can see these properties over here along Half Moon are all zoned R12, which is what this applicant is asking for. Properties down here along Timmons View are also zoned R12. And some of the properties over here in Fig Tree are zoned R12. So there's R12 zoning surrounding this property, all the property that's not A1. And let's see, did I skip one? No. This is a wetlands map. You can see that the area is kind of surrounded by marshlands, but there's not any wetlands to speak of on this 211 acres. And this is a plat. It's a fairly old plat, but that shows the boundaries of the property. This is the existing Fig Tree subdivision. It's not really affected by this. And this is their proposed plan. You can see here, existing Fig Tree subdivision here. This road kind of comes off and goes over this way. This is the lot layout and the road network here. They're proposing up to 237 additional lots. They would have an access here. They would share an access with the Fig Tree subdivision There would also be a major access right here going into a traffic circle off of Kings Road here. And then there would be a green space down here near the end of Kings Road before you turn and go on to Timmons View Road. And you can see there's some ponds in there and then roads circulating throughout the development. All these lots here are, as they're shown there, are roughly 100 feet wide and 250 feet deep. So they're about, as shown here, these lots are all 25,000 square feet, which is a little bit over a half acre. And this is their narrative, just saying what they want to do. This property is located at Colonel's Island at Fig Tree Road and Kings Road. Again, they're asking for R12 zoning. This would allow for a single-family development of 237 lots, with each lot being a 1/2 acre upland minimum. And as I said earlier, there's no wetlands. Unlike most of Liberty County, this property is virtually all upland, so it's pretty good property. In addition to that, they're asking for a variance here to, in addition to this, and we'll present this immediately after the zoning request, they're asking to be allowed to use individual septic tanks on this property instead of doing a community septic system. They are proposing to use a private water system, so there will be community water that will be provided for all the lots in the subdivision. They've also attached a letter, and I'm going to show you in the next slide, shows a letter from the health department saying that these lots would be, they're supposed to be there. I guess you ought to take my word for it. There is a letter, and it should be in your package, that, from the health department saying that they've looked at this, they've looked at the soil study that was presented by the applicant, and they have determined that these lots, this property is suitable for 1/2 acre lots. Our zoning analysis, does this property have reasonable economic value as it's currently zoned? Yes. Does the property conform to the joint land use study for Fort Stewart? Yes, it does. Number 3, does the proposed use conform to the Liberty County Comprehensive Plan? It does. The comprehensive plan designates this property as low-density residential, which a single-family subdivision is low-density residential. Number 4, will there be an adverse effect on the value and usability of nearby properties? Our answer there is no. Number 5, is the proposed use suitable in view of nearby uses? Yes. Number 6, will the zoning proposal create an undue burden on transportation, including streets, transit, schools, utilities, and public safety? Our answer there is no. Number 7, would this allow for short-term gain at the expense of our long-term goals? No. Number 8, will this change cause a domino effect and encourage sprawl? No. Number 9, are there unique historical sites which may be adversely impacted? We have not noted any. Number 10, is this property in a flood hazard area? No. Number 11, is it spot zoning or unrelated to the existing pattern of development? No. And number 12, are there unique conditions which support approval or denial? And we have not identified any. Planning Commission heard this at their July meeting, and they recommended approval with standard and special conditions. The special condition is that buffers would be included in the site plan along Timmons View Drive and Kings Road. And we're glad to answer any questions. And Chairman, this has been advertised as a public hearing, and the applicant is here to speak on their behalf.
Well, let's hear from the applicant first, then we'll hear from those who have signed up to speak.
Commissioners, Chairman, I'm Adam Wilkinson with Goose Creek. Be the engineer on this project. So Mr. Jeff did a good job. We are looking to do 1/2 acre lots, even though it's R12. The reason we did the original zoning for R12 is because that's what the surrounding property was. Also, the setbacks were a little bit more favorable. We do want to try to save as many trees as possible on the lots and in the right-of-way, and we thought having 10 more feet in the front to move the house forward may allow us to save a tree in the backyard. I know there is some talk that everybody's concerned about the 1/4 acre lots. If for some reason we decided to not do 1/2 acre lots, we've actually, when I postponed this, I sent a letter saying that if the variance was granted, we are more than happy to go to R20. We're not trying to do smaller lots. We want to do larger lots. We want to do a nice development down there. Trying to be good neighbors for it. I think it's going to be a good asset to the county down there. The houses will be very similar to the houses currently in the subdivision. So there won't be a lower cost house next to a higher cost house. They'll all be the same style. The water system, we have a letter of intent from the private water utility provider that will have that does have the capacity and is willing to transfer that capacity to us upon approval, obviously, of the EPD of the system, because they can't transfer it until it's all been approved. We also tried to do, as from the layout, a lot of green spaces. We want to try to interconnect those maybe with some walking trails and with the sidewalks in the subdivision to try to create a nice amenity down there, and keep and feel. I know it's becoming developed, but we do want to keep the feel of what was there. And it's a pretty high area, and we just want to bring out some of the aesthetics of that. The lots shown on Kings Road will all be, there's no road-facing lots. They're all interior. On the original plan, there was a paved road on Timmons. We will not be doing that. We've talked to the neighbors, again, trying to, thanks, Jeff, I don't know how to word that too good. We've talked to the neighbors. One of the concerns was traffic right by their house, so we don't want to burden them with that, and they actually had a good point. I was gonna do an exit-only gate, and then I started thinking about it after talking to the neighbors, still too much traffic. So that road, by request of the neighbors and my client, is going away. Those houses also are going away.
You want to use your pointer? Can you, Jeff might help him, Jeff.
Sure. Is it the green one? Yeah.
He got it. He got it.
So these houses are not gonna be there, and that road will not be there either. The existing lane is on my client's property, so I'm still recommending a knockdown gate, just in case for fire reasons. If a fire somehow gets started here and maybe traps these people in the back, they have a way to get out and the fire has a way to get in, but no actual traffic will be traveling through there, in or out is the intent. I think I hit all the high points, but if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
I had one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, where was the Tippins Road that you were gonna buffer?
Right here?
Is that the one that you're not gonna build on now?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, where is it Fig Tree, where's that road? Is that
It's
gonna
the
be
existing,
Right there.
right here. Shake it.
That's the road, okay. And would there be a buffer behind that, or no?
In
No.
between those lots and the lots on the backside?
Okay.
No, ma'am, we had not anticipated one. So those lots and these lots will be similarly sized, and the house styles will be it will be the same clientele for the houses. So we did not, we have talked, so as you see, so it's all kind of, obviously, this is a sketch plan, but we do want to be very open. We've kind of cut off the new one from the old one in case that's how the project goes. And then if that was the case, then we would put a separate gate here so that would be separate. I'm arguing a little bit that we're gonna have a lot of nice amenities in this section, so I was like, we should connect it. But that has been discussed, yes, ma'am, of separating the two sides.
Yeah, and I understand this is just for, not the site plan and
Yes, ma'am.
and that per se, but, okay, that's all the questions I had right now.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You said, why not go ahead and call it a R20 from the get-go?
So, two reasons, based on that's why we're requesting the variance. So the current ordinances require when you go over a certain lot count, you can't do individual septic systems anymore. You have to put it on a community septic system. In general, that system itself is not the smallest, so it's for this size development, it'd be about 10 acres for the field, 10 more for a backup. The cost of the development also is several $1 million. So you're taking away 20 acres of buildable land, and then you're adding several $1 million to the project. It would require using the smaller zoning sizes to then make up the density to make the project economically viable. We don't particularly want to go that route for multiple reasons. One, the cost on the upfront side, which doesn't really matter, honestly, to the county, and it shouldn't. But the second side of that, anybody that lives in there has to pay another fee because the maintenance of the system, they don't just have a water bill anymore, now they have a water and sewer bill. So it was kind of a double front. That, and it takes 20 acres of really pretty property that we would rather give to the property owners and let them have a bigger backyard. So that was the reason for R12. And the surrounding zoning was R12, so we were trying to keep with the theme of the surrounding zoning. But we would honestly prefer to go to R20 if, I know it's two separate items, with the variance. Like, we are more than happy. We do not want to build quarter-acre lots. We want to build half-acre lots, so.
Yeah. come back.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to ask a question here.
Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Jeff, with it being called a R12 and the amount of footage that's there now, which is equivalent to a R20 or better, are we going to be changing something later, you know, by going this route? Why can't we just say a R20
You could.
instead of a R12? Because I don't want this to be confusing later on, because that was one of the biggest issues I heard from some of the citizens out there, it being called a R12. And I didn't talk to everyone out there, but I talked to most of them. But calling it a R12 could be, in a way, misleading. But you got the footage for a R20 plus.
Yes, sir.
Am I making sense?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't we look at it being a R20 with the special exceptions?
It is your prerogative R20 is more restrictive than what he's asking for, so it is your prerogative to zone the property R20, which is kind of a compromise between what he asked for and what he has now.
So let's say if we go that route, we zone it R20 with special exception to include what R12s call for.
Right. You could do if he wants a setback of 25 instead of 35, front setback of 25 instead of 35, you could make that a condition.
Okay.
Commissioner Walden?
Yeah, it's good to see you again, Adam. The main topic here this evening is to rezone property from agricultural to single family. That's
Yes, sir.
the builder, is the builder here in the room?
No, sir.
Okay, so we don't know who's gonna build what. And I know you sent a letter in there, and I read it about the, Jeff, I guess you put it in about the wells, and it said that there would be 4 borings per lot in order for that, from the health department, it said there would be 4 borings to determine if each septic tank would work.
Yes, sir.
But right now, the issue on the table is to rezone it.
Yes, sir.
And then when the time comes back that we decide, or you decide what you're gonna build and how you're gonna build it, then you can come back and we can change it. But I don't have a bit of problem with going with what Commissioner Saban said to be R20. But now, as far as the roads and stuff like that, that's gonna have to be the developer. That's gonna have to be the person that's in here building that we gonna be talking to now. I don't wanna talk to somebody that tells me they don't know what's gonna go on. I know Mr. Cribbs owns it, but the thing is, if it's somebody else gonna be doing the building, that's who we wanna talk to. But the primary issue, if I'm reading this right, this is just a rezoning, correct? Okay.
So, no, Mr. Eddy, when the questions you have for the builder, I may have actually, those answers may be determined before he buys the property, and it may lock him into a certain thing. Do you mind elaborating on your question? The 4 borings that you referred to are specifically for the septic system. So we did a preliminary study to do 50 bores across the site. Based on the state requirement, you have to do more of those. You have to do 4 per lot.
Right.
In general, we have a very good idea of the soil conditions, but yes, sir, so the health department was like, in general, these soils are gonna work, but obviously we can't give you the official approval until you do the actual level 3 soil study.
Right.
When the lots are ready.
Well, and I understand that because I had one in my district, on Highway 84, and Jeff mentioned it in his narrative, the people wanted to put in septic tanks, and after they went in there and bored, they couldn't use the septic tanks. So anything can change, but the zoning can be done this afternoon. From what I'm understanding, Mr. Chairman, it can be rezoned, but as far as us putting the nuts and bolts on it, we will probably need to see the developer. Or I would feel better about it, about the buffer and everything else that's in there. The roads, from what I understood, the very last conversation that I had regarding this subdivision was when Mr. Cribbs asked for a variance when Joe Martin's house was to be built. And I understood it was all gonna be built at that type of a subdivision. And now we've changed it, so, you know, I don't even know that that's a subdivision. It's never been dedicated as a subdivision unless you, Jeff, is it a subdivision? When was it put into effect as a subdivision?
I think it was approved by this board in around 2009.
As a subdivision or individual lots?
It's a subdivision. They were approved to build the road back there, and they've got individual lots back on the back end here along the marsh front. There's only one lot that's been developed along the way there, but they were approved for, I think, I don't remember how many, 30-something lots in there, I think.
Okay. Well, I'm ready to act on the rezoning.
Thank you, sir. All right. Commissioners, again, before I do the public.
Go ahead.
All right.
If I have to come back.
All right, Mr. Brown, you have the list?
I do. The first name on that list is Ms. Sharon Martin.
Ms. Martin, come and state your name for the matter of record, please, ma'am, and state your case.
My name is Sharon Martin. Joe Martin was my late husband. I live at 232 Fig Tree Lane. It is 200 feet from this proposed development, and I wanted to request to change the zoning from R12 to R20. That has been brought up, and I would be absolutely thrilled if you guys would please hold them to the fire and make it R20.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's, yes.
Well
Thank
said.
you. Thank you.
Next person.
Next person on there is Ms. Diane Adams.
Ms. Adams, state your name also for the record, please, ma'am, when you get to the microphone.
Good evening, and
Good
thank you
evening.
for the opportunity. May I have the acreage of
Name
your-
and address,
Oh,
please.
I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
Diane Adams. I live on Cattle Hammock Island, which is the hammock off of Colonel's Island.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
I would like to know the square footage of the R20 zoning.
The minimum lot size for an R20 subdivision is 20,000 square feet.
So that is less square footage than the R12. Is that correct?
It's actually more.
More.
It's more, okay. Well, that's great.
Jeff,
So-
translate that to acreage, and you have to do that for me.
Yeah, R12 would allow for a 12,000 square foot lot, which is about a quarter-acre lot.
All right.
R20 allows for a 20,000 minimum square foot lot, which is almost a half acre.
Then I agree with our commissioner. Thank you very much for that. I would also like to know if there was an environmental impact study done on the land. I know that we have some endangered species that live on the island, including the wood storks and also the gopher tortoise.
It's not, well, he'll address that, but
It's not a requirement.
No.
It's required in government projects, but it's
Yeah.
not required as part of a private project.
I understand. So there will be no environmental impact study. We have a very delicate ecosystem down on Colonel's Island with a lot of endangered and I think they're called, endangered species and other species that are, on the list for the federal government.
One could be done, but it's not required.
Okay. Thank you. And as far as community benefit, I see that there is some green space in the development map that we saw. I'm sure that this is a draft. However, I did hear that there were sidewalks that were going to be put in. We are very worried about the road systems out in that area as far as public safety. There are no sidewalks in the area. We have a lot of older people who do walking and bike riding, and the speed limits are very high, especially on Kings Road. I think it's 45 miles per hour. So it would be nice to see some community benefit to include sidewalks and some biking paths, so we can accommodate all the children that will be living in that neighborhood. And also, some community benefits could be playgrounds, and I would like to know if there is a stormwater control plan with an erosion control plan, if the developers have thought about that.
At this stage, that wouldn't be required, but every one of those ponds you see there are part of the stormwater management. But after the approval of the zoning, they will have to come back to you for each phase of this with a plat, a preliminary plat that would have construction plans associated with it.
And-
So the county will be reviewing the construction on a phase-by-phase basis.
Okay, that's great. And how much green space and recreational space do you have for the children?
From what they're showing right here on this plat, they're showing this entire triangle here. He's also saying that he's going to give up these lots here along Timmons View. So Timmons will remain largely like it is, which is just a dirt road across an easement on this property. So it'd be, I don't know what the acreage is, Adam, for this corner right here.
I don't have that part memorized, no, sir.
It looks like it's at least 10 acres, but I'm not sure exactly what the amount is.
Okay, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And signalization and the road conditions coming down to the island is really bad. I'm not sure if the county is going to be doing something, maybe imposing some type of fee for all the heavy equipment coming down. They're already pretty torn up from the dirt that's been moved from the end of Islands Highway clear up to the interstate. And signalization. And I heard that.
You heard that?
I think the
Yeah.
county engineer had said that there was going to be some signalization up by the industrial park, but all the way clear through down, there is nothing. If we add 237 homes, and you probably might want to double that to 450 cars up and down that highway on a regular basis, we're going to need some improvements and some additional public safety.
You may want to make a note of that again. The comprehensive plan review is coming your way, and you have opportunity to express those same sentiments. But as far as Island Highway is concerned, you did hear our engineer talk about some improvements that we have designed for Island Highway. Now, as far as sidewalks along, you say Kings Road?
Kings Road?
Yeah. Now, we have not discussed that. The way we do it here is, in fact, thank you for bringing it up. T-Splosh is coming in November. We use T-Splosh funds, the SPOS funds, those kind of improvements. And I can't give you an idea, but I know it can be an expensive project, but we can certainly pencil that in when it comes to road improvements. And once again, when the comprehensive plan team comes your way, please be present and keep your notes to express those same sentiments you just expressed.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you.
One last thing, I just wanted to make a point that along the Timmins River there and along the back end, the long end, I know the front part's going away, but that is an active, the creeks that are just off that marsh are set by DNR as active oyster growing areas. And I don't know what the environmental impact would be to add 237 septic systems. That's just food for thought. There are a lot of local, actually that river actually flows into the recreational and the commercial oyster harvest areas that DNR has designated out on the Midway. And additionally, we have a lot of local crabbers who crab those rivers for their livelihood. And there's about approximately 15 fishing tournaments that draw big crowds over at the Half Moon Marina each year. And they are sponsored by 2 local sport clubs and the Half Moon Marina itself. I think the Rotary Club might have a tournament down there as well.
They do.
So there's a lot of activity, and for that much sewage to be leaching over the years into those waters could be detrimental. And that's about all I have, and I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Mr. Paul Rose.
Mr. Rhodes, welcome to our house.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Chairman Lovett, members of the commission, appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm sort of sensing what direction we're heading. Our concern is that, we invested in this, in our home. I live in the Fig Tree subdivision. My wife and we live within 100 yards of this property that is the subject of this discussion this evening. And all we're asking to do is we want to preserve the integrity of the existing neighborhood. So when I first saw the petition, I was a little bit shocked to see that they were asking for 237 lots. You look at the R12 definition, and I think there's some confusion about the zoning classification surrounding this, because I understand that it was a result of the conversion to the new ordinance. So it's a little misleading to say it's all R12, but when you go and look at the definition within the ordinance that you folks have adopted, it says it's established to provide for an orderly urban residential development. Well, we don't live in an urban area. This is remote, it's rural, it's pristine, it's beautiful. I mean, the closest traffic light's 10 miles away, the closest grocery store is 14 miles away. And I think the definition of rural is when you live over 20 miles from a Walmart. So, all we're asking to do is preserve the integrity of the existing neighborhood. This proposal with that high density of 237 homes, we think is incompatible, it's inconsistent, and with all due respect, sir, I don't know how the zoning analysis determined that there's no traffic impact, but we've only got one road in and one road out. So there is a significant impact with traffic. But to go back to the original point, if R20 is where you're heading, with half-acre lots, with buffers and special conditions, we're fine with it, and I appreciate the time to be here with you this evening.
Thank you, Judge. Good to see you.
The next name on here, little bit of trouble picking it out, but it's either Cal or Carl. I'm sorry? No, you're on here later. No, Carol, you're on here later. There's another name.
Oh, is there somebody else on there?
No, yeah, there's this, again, it looks like Cal, but you're down there with Bubba. There's somebody else signed in.
Got to start asking them to print, huh?
Okay. And then the next one is Kim Ryan.
Welcome to our house.
We had more city over here than we ever did.
It's a pleasure to be in your house. I'm not used to
No, you're not.
to speaking on this side. But I brought some notes. I was trying to be prepared. The last thing I want to do is get up here and say I'm, not in favor for the rezoning request just because I like it the way it is. That's certainly not my intent. That's not what I feel. I'm all for, rezoning and the progress, but I echo Mr. Rose's sentiment that we want to make sure that we preserve the integrity of the neighborhood. And just for a couple points of clarification, whenever you look at the Unified Development Ordinance, it does have a section in here of the zoning, and it has the former district for each municipality within the county and the county unincorporated and the new district. And you can see that R1, single-family residential, was converted to R12, single-family residential 12. There were no R20 conversions. So to say that everything around it is R12 is a little bit misleading, and I understand that's a huge task to take every zoning, every R1 zoning and then put it into different categories. But it was not initially zoned R12, it was zoned R1 from the information that I'm reading now. I did not go and see when it was zoned, and I didn't do that much research, but just as a little bit of clarification there, it does appear that it's R12 as a result of that conversion back in July of 2023. Again, I'm not against rezoning, but I am against the rezoning as it's presented, even with the special conditions that are presented. I don't want to back up, but I didn't see a sign-up sheet for a public hearing on the variance with the septic tank system, so I don't know if that will be open for public hearing as well.
Yes, it will be.
So I do have some points on that, and so that leads a little bit to what my request is here. But Judge Rose made a lot of the points that I had about this is an urban designation, so I won't go back through all of that, but I agree with everything he said on that. But what I would respectfully request is that you consider an R20 zoning with special conditions of 1 acre lot sizes. This would save the trees that Mr. Krebs is concerned about. and still keep those R20 setbacks. And it also would be more in conformance with the septic tank variance. When we go to that one, the septic tank variances are very specific on developments if you're not going to have the community septic system, and I realize that those sewer systems are extremely expensive. My day job has me analyzing and looking at that a lot, and I do recognize that that's extremely cost prohibitive. But it would be more in conformance with your variance requirements. And I mean, they're not suggestions, they are requirements under your subdivision ordinance. I would also ask for no access to the neighborhood from Lake Bluff Road. I think it was said that it was Fig Tree Road, but the road coming in, the grayed area on the left, that road coming in front of that pond is Lake Bluff Road. And there is an entrance into that subdivision from Lake Bluff Road. That is a private road. There's a gate in the front of it. It's a private road. In the Fig Tree Landing Homeowners Association agreement, it designates that as a private road, and it says it shall remain a private road unless unanimously voted upon by the members. So we would request that no access from either Lake Bluff Road or Fig Tree Road would be in that subdivision.
Jeff, let me see that. Can I see that, Jeff?
It's the existing
Right
road.
there.
Somebody's already pointed it, beat me to it, but it's right there. That road goes back in here to the Fig Tree subdivision lots back here in the back. So it's
And on
right
the
here.
side there, on that left-hand side are all lots for this Fig Tree. But all that great area on the left and right.
Yeah, this entire area is Fig Tree subdivision. She wants to not use that, to make them do another entrance off of here instead of using the existing road.
Or just have the Kings Road, but just no access, because then that would basically negate our gate, which is, a lot of reason, for me personally, it is one of the reasons that I chose to buy back there. I'm a single mother with a teenager. We have several single women that live in that subdivision, and there's just something, whether it's real or perceived, there's just some additional security there with that gate. And like I said, it is in our homeowners association, not trying to get y'all in the middle of any homeowner, but it is stated in there, and in that homeowners agreement, it says that Fig Tree Landing, it has the plat, and the plat is that area that Mr. Ricketson just pointed out, that grayed out area on the left. So I would respectfully request that there would be no access to the neighborhood from Lake Bluff Road or Fig Tree Road to the new neighborhood. And then would also request a vegetative buffer from on Timmons Road, which is what is currently a special condition. But I would also add a vegetative buffer for the Fig Tree Landing subdivision, which would be Lake Bluff Road and Fig Tree Road. And it was well, it didn't specify what type of buffer, it just said a buffer. So I would request a 50-foot vegetative buffer.
How much?
For that area, 50 foot.
50 foot.
I believe that's 40 or 50 foot is common based on what I've looked at.
Sometimes less. Yeah. Yeah.
That is
Okay.
so that is my
Okay.
request on
Okay.
that. So,
All right. Okay.
but thank you for
All right.
hearing me.
Thank you.
And appreciate your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah.
The next name on there is Ms. Carol Grinstead.
I'm Carol Grinstead, and they've actually, everybody before me has pretty much touched on everything that I had to say. But I would like to know if there has actually been a traffic study done, or will there be? I mean, the addition of 500 plus more cars on a dead-end road, I think have, going to create a problem for us. And also, at the end of Kings Road, there's probably about 6 or 7 families who live down that road. And there's not a lot of traffic, so a lot of the people who live on the island choose to come down there to walk for exercise and ride their bikes. Well, all that is going to change when we start having all these people moving in. It's going to be a whole lot more traffic. And if that happens, I think Kings Road needs to be improved. you know, with ditches, a sidewalk, and a bike lane would be really nice. And also, I would like to see like a 50-foot buffer down Kings Road, so that this new neighborhood will be within itself, so you don't have to go down and look at people's backyards, you know, when you're walking down the road. It's better for the people who live there because it affords them some privacy. And also, I have concern about the septic tanks. I don't really know what there is to know about that, but I do know that a percentage of these homes will be built, you know, right next to the marsh, because all of that on that edge is all marshland. And I mean, I would hope somebody would do a study on that to find out what the impact of that could be. And I think that's pretty much all that I have. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grinstead.
I'm not sure if the next gentleman agrees with the lady before him, but it's Bubba Grinstead.
I agree with everything. And I don't have much to add. Judge Rose succinctly and eloquently put problems and concerns that we have, and my wife did, and Ms. Ryan has too. They've touched on everything. My biggest concern has always been, and I think it might be taken care of by Adam earlier, he said that all the lots on Timmons View would be taken out. So what we had a problem with is we didn't want any frontage lots that would front Timmons View Road, or if you put the 50-foot buffer on Kings Road, that would front Kings Road either. We would have no problem. I mean, we don't object to that because we think it's going to be approved, the variance anyway. We just like the special conditions that Timmons View Drive not have any lots fronting it, and and a buffer there also of 50 feet, and Kings Road would be the same way, because that would allow still the privacy that everybody moved down there for to get anyway, instead of us coming out of our road and looking into people's backyard and them looking into our backyard the whole time. That's about it. But my concerns are what Judge Rose and Ms. Ryan and my wife have all put out, and Ms. Martin also. They've done a good job.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes, sir.
wanted to ask a question. Of course, we are still in the process of the rezoning. Not no special exceptions or nothing like that, but are you writing all this down, Jeff?
Write it down.
Because I don't see Adam writing nothing down. Now, I know Joey's probably writing something down, but I just want to make sure all of these things are identified when and if it does come back up. I mean,
Yeah,
this is strictly a rezoning from a piece of property that grew pine trees
Yeah.
and gopher turtle or whatever else, and we're gonna try to rezone it for some type of a subdivision, whether it's 4 lots or whether it's whatever, 2 lots. So, that's the main thing, and I appreciate everybody that's made a comment on it, but I just wanna make sure that, you know, we've got it all wrote down, that somebody taking notes of it.
Joey.
I don't see Joe Mosley writing anything down either, so.
Being recorded.
Ms. Brown.
So your question, I think, is, do those stipulations need to be in now? And that answer is yes.
Yes.
As part of the zoning action.
Yes.
They need to be recorded.
We'll do all
as part
that
of the
tonight.
Zoning action. So whenever you take the zoning action, they do need to be part of the record on whatever you decide.
Well, there's some of the people that'll be here tonight, some of them that may not be here on that, but, just wanna make
Can't
sure
entertain them
that
all now.
some of us up here that's, you know, 55, we need to make sure we remember.
Yeah, we go. Anybody else, Mr. Brown?
Go ahead.
That's the last one.
Can I address one comment that
Yeah,
came
and
up?
Adam's coming too, I see him.
Okay. With regard to the UDO, R12 did replace R1. R1 for 50 years had a minimum lot size of 12,000 square feet. So the UDO didn't change the minimum lot size for the lots that are already zoned R12 around there. It's the same as it always was. The only thing the UDO gave you was a minimum lot size of 20,000. The R20 is something you didn't have before that allows you to zone something with a larger minimum lot size of 20,000. So that's the only impact that the UDO had on this situation.
Oh, yeah. Right in time. How you doing?
Doing well.
Good, good, good. Mr. Chair, I just have a few questions, and I think Mr. Brown answered a few of them with making sure that all the requests for the variances and everything should be in this request. But more importantly, since we're talking about that, and Mr. Ricketson, if you, I know your legs are a little tired. It's gonna be a long night, but
No, we're doing well.
the difference in can we just discuss in its entirety the difference in R12 and R20? And before you answer, from my, like you said, R20, the minimum lot size is 20 something square feet.
2,000.
So almost a half acre. R12 is half of that.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And an acre is 43,560.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
All right. So if everyone is saying that they're okay on both sides with half acres for the most part, right? So why are we even discussing R12?
12.
Because that's what he presented.
It was the original zoning, and that, even though I'm verbally willing, I don't think you can change it because it's already been presented to the.
But we can.
Y'all can for
Yeah,
the
we
motion,
can.
yes, sir. And- yes, sir.
Right.
Don't say what we can't do.
Right. So I guess I'm just looking because again I think majority of people in this room understands that growth is coming regardless, you know, from Liberty County to Long County to all this whole particular region, you know, especially with Hyundai and just, I mean, listen, Liberty County is a beautiful place to live, and we all understand that. You know, I moved back here. So, but I do understand their concerns, and I think from both parties, you know, from a development standpoint, it's hard to tell someone who purchased a tract of land what they can and cannot do, as long as it's inside the, you know, the comprehensive plan. But even if it's not, all they have to do is go to you all and make a request, right? That's just how it works. But whenever we discussing the majority of the concerns of the people that have already invested in that particular area, right? Most of them are saying that they don't want quarter lots. They at least want half-acre lots. So that throws out R12. And I think both parties say they're okay with half-acre lots, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So let's move right along. And then they're saying that, I try to write a lot of this down for you, Mr. Brown, just in case you needed a backup. But we discussed the amenities. And of course, we understand this is just a concept. So whenever it comes back to us after this, like you said, this is a rezoning. It's probably, actually, it's gonna look different because we already talked about taking those lanes. There you go. See, I'm not like Commissioner Stevens and have my own one. There you go. That whole area. So there's gonna be no road there, correct? No, it's gonna be a road, but that's just gonna be basically a road if there's any issues for public safety.
Yes, sir. There's an existing lane there now, but we're committing to no lots facing that road.
And
Yes, sir.
it will not be an active lane. So that kind of helps out with the public safety situation, what people were saying as well, just in case something happens. It's more than one way in and one way get out. All right, so we have that. Then we talked about Lake Bluff, Fig Tree, and a vegetative buffer.
Planning Commission recommended a vegetative buffer, but they debated among themselves and never came up with an exact number, so they left that for you to decide. I will tell you that in the past, we've had some other subdivisions that had a 30-foot buffer. And I know that you put one on the Richmond Pass on Charlie Butler Road. You put a 30-foot buffer on that along Charlie Butler.
And also on Bill Carter.
That's right.
Bill
I think that
Carter.
was a, I think they did. He's right.
Mr. Dryden, I put a 40-foot buffer there around the entire subdivision, is my understanding.
That's right. It was a 40-foot buffer on Bill Carter.
I'm getting a little older. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was a
But,
40-foot
yeah.
buffer on Bill Carter.
All right, so let's discuss the buffer arrangement and where we are looking at for the buffers, right? So that's Lake Bluff Road.
This is Lake Bluff Road.
Right. Okay. So it's being requested that a buffer is in that particular area, because I'm assuming the majority of the people that's having a discussion, they understand that growth is gonna come. I mean, that's 200 and something acres. I mean, it's coming. But I'm assuming they're saying that they still want to have their own separate presence with their particular properties, which I get it, you know. So why can't we just come to this compromise and just, if everybody's supportive on both parties, and we could just keep it moving?
I think we were headed there. We just had to allow everybody to speak, and they did.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was just
and
making sure.
then Adam's gonna come back and make some comments after he heard some comments made, and then we're ready.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna bring up R12 again, is he?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. I was just making
Besides
sure.
the fact that we're willing
Hey, I'm
to
just
bypass
trying
it
to
and go
help you.
R20, yeah.
Actually,
That kinda
actually, R12 should have not been in this discussion tonight.
Well, he did it for a reason.
Yes, sir. So I'm just going to try to make sure I address a lot of the comments they had, just so everybody understands where we're coming. I want to be totally transparent. With the environmental study, no, we did not perform one, as Mr. Rickinson said, because it was not a requirement for the rezoning. We obviously will follow any state laws, any state requirements for any endangered species. There's laws we have to do during the planning process. For that, we will follow all of that as required. The sidewalk, we do intend to put internal sidewalks, and as part of the requirement for the county on our design side, we will have to put sidewalks usually along the frontage of the property as well. It's a requirement the county does for internet connectivity long-term. Even though on our side we argue about it a little bit, it is going to be required and has been in the past, so y'all will see sidewalks from what our property can do. Stormwater plan and erosion, that also is a requirement from the county. I have to take all that into consideration, submit design standards, calculations, all to the engineers. Erosion control plan will go out to the state. You'll get a letter of compliance, and then the county will approve the plans. All that will be taken care of in the design plans. And again, those ponds are the anticipated location of our stormwater detention. So we do plan to have that. About the construction equipment coming down the road, once the construction equipment gets here, it will stay on site. We anticipate to have pretty much all we need on site. We'll have to get materials delivered. The most traffic you'll see is any logging that takes place in the beginning, but you won't see just a bunch of construction trucks hauling dirt off of this site. We'll need a lot of dirt anyway if this is approved, and it'll be all hauled on site, so we don't want to mess up the roads. Talking about specifically the proximity to the marshlands, so as part of, this is all based on septic standards. So if these lots are on septic, there is a state requirement for a 50-foot buffer from any marshlands, any wetlands, any water surface elevations. So there's buffers in place to address the specific concern about leaching into the field. Ironically, the crabs, the cockroaches of the sea, would probably like a little bit of a leach, but we're going to do our best not to. And with the soil conditions here, I don't anticipate that being a concern. These soil conditions are probably some of the best in Liberty County.
You're not from the coast, are you?
Yes, well, I live over in McIntosh at the coast, yes, sir.
Yeah, you was talking bad about crabs. That's the only thing.
No, I love crabs. But they are cockroaches of the sea, just like lobsters. That's why the peasants ate the lobsters until the kings caught on to how delicious they were. For the traffic, so the road itself, right now on this section of Kings Road is about 2,000 is your AADT, it's average annual daily traffic. We anticipate, so this subdivision based on lot count will be around about 7.7 or something, increases trips per house. In general, we like to consider 10 per house. It just makes the numbers easier, and a 2-lane road with 45 miles an hour can hold up to 10,000. So even at the interstate, you're getting, I think, around 5 without the improvements. So with the improvements, the traffic itself, though it will be more, it won't be enough where the road can't handle the traffic.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair? So this plan, I understand
Yes,
this
sir.
concept, but this plan is off of R12.
Yes, sir, but
R20.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so these lots that are sized are currently over even the minimum for R20, because if you use septic system, they have to be half an acre of usable uplands. So that doesn't include any buffers, any easements or anything. So they have to be 21,780 square feet for a septic when you're on a community water system. So this plan, and with the intent of the project from the get-go, was drawn and considered to be half acre or larger lots. So those are half acre lots that you see.
All right.
And then the last thing I have here, and then I'm done unless the commissioner has any more questions for me, is I did not realize, little fail on my part, that that was written in the current homeowners association. If that's the case, then that takes that off the table. That road will be kept private, so.
I was
The
thinking.
entrance, though, I want to read it and see. I would like to keep the entrance. I would have to read again the county's code about dual entrances on certain lot counts. But the gate, at the minimum, will be moved probably right behind that first curve and to keep that road private. But the intent would still be to use the entrance. If I can't do that because of the current laws that are in place or the homeowner associations that has been established, then I'll have to figure out something different. But that would be the intent, just to be totally transparent.
If Kim hadn't brought that up, how would we have picked that up? If she hadn't brought that up, how would we have?
Would have no idea. That's a private civil matter.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Adam, don't go anywhere.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I got one question for him. I had not heard it mentioned tonight. You're talking about the water system. Will the water system out there be equivalent to what we need to supply fire suppression?
Yeah, it will have to be, yes, sir. So part
Will
of.
have to be, but it's
Yes, sir. The EPD requires that I do that. If the county has a fire
We had that before.
flow requirement, when I submit designs to them to be permitted, I have to address that. And it'll be given to the county as well, the calculations.
Jeff, that would have to come through our fire chief, right, correct? The
Yes, when
approval of that?
When they submit a preliminary plat, which is the first part of getting the construction permit, that will come to Mr. Zeckman's office,
Yeah,
and he
he'll
will
get
route
them.
it to the county engineer and the fire and whoever else in the county, whichever other county departments need to get it.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Ready for a motion? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Did you ready for a motion?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can I make a real, I forgot one quick thing. If it is changed to R20, I do apologize. If I could get the same road setbacks as the R12, I would appreciate that, which is 25 foot from the road instead of 35. In my head, it helps me scoot to save trees in the backyard. So, okay, I'm not supposed to talk to the crowd. I got in trouble last time I did that.
No.
Sometimes people will request larger lots. There is a certain economic responsibility to develop this, and the number just keeps going up as materials increase, and the number that we're using now is right around $2.5 million a mile to develop this type of subdivision. That requirement, because it used to be $1 million a mile, is what we used to quote maybe 8 years ago. And now I'm actually thinking about telling my clients even more because the last subdivision I did came too close to that number. That amount of capital spent requires just a certain type of density to make a project viable. But I keep saying it, but we're trying to stay with the theme of the neighborhood. We're intentionally doing larger lots from our side to try to make a nice subdivision with nice houses. But thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Okay. Joey, help me to the rezoning, and then we're gonna deal with the variance request.
It really needs to be handled as two separate actions, but I think it's important that you realize that that other request is out there. I mean, obviously you didn't want to do them in a vacuum.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because without one, the other one
Right.
becomes more difficult.
Right. Right.
But they are two separate actions.
Okay.
Mr. Brown, I wanted,
Zoning.
go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just asking, is you ready?
We're
for
ready.
the zoning?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Mr. Brown, Kelly, Trent, I need y'all ears to make sure that everything that we mentioned goes in this. And I'm gonna make a motion that we rezone this property to R20 with all the setbacks that was mentioned, and we come up with a setback on natural buffer.
Yeah, the setback was what, was with R20, Judge Rose? Is that what, with the R20 setback? Is that what you requested?
Right.
The R20 setback?
No, I think he was requesting an R12 setback in an R20. That's what I'm saying, yeah. He was requesting the R12 setback in an
Well, we want to
R20.
go with the R20 setback. Is that correct?
And
R20 zoning with the R12 setback, with the special.
And if I could interrupt, I've been taking notes, so I think we have two options. We could do our best tonight to go through kind of an ad hoc basis to try and address all the concerns and try and mitigate any anticipated adverse impacts of the rezoning, or we could continue the decision until your next meeting to give the staff time to develop written stipulations which memorialize the objections you've heard tonight and address their concerns as best you think appropriate. That way, you'll have a written set of stipulations to review. The public will have a written set of stipulations to review, as well as the owner. That way, you can be assured that you've done your best to address all the concerns while still allowing the inedible development that we've discussed tonight. So, two approaches. The first, I've taken notes. I'll do my best to go through and express the stipulations, or continue it into your next meeting and you can be presented.
Let's try to go ahead with this tonight if we can.
Sure.
We can,
The synergy is here.
help us with the language
Yeah.
that, because there was a lot floating around here. And
The first step,
Commission
R20.
Chairman.
First step is R20.
R20.
Right.
Yes.
And also, no entryway,
Down Lake Bluff,
Lake Bluff and,
that's Fig Tree.
yeah, and what about Timmons Drive?
Yep, nothing on Timmons.
But they're gonna take that piece out.
Okay.
You have someone, and no lots facing Timmons View Road either.
Right.
Correct.
Mhm.
That was, yeah.
Kings.
And 40-foot buffers.
40-foot buffers.
And that's along,
Yeah.
that's along Kings Road,
Road.
Lake Bluff Road, and Fig Tree.
Yes.
Right?
Is that correct?
And Timmons.
And Timmons.
If they're not going to
We're
be
not gonna build
homes
on
there, you
Timmons,
still
too.
want to.
Yeah.
No,
buffer.
Timmons, no one's building on Timmons, but
Right.
it's still gonna be a
Still a
road
buffer.
for
Okay.
access for
For
public safety uses only.
Only.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and that's really not gonna be manageable. I think
Okay.
they've gotta have two entrances and exits to the subdivision anyway, unless you waive that. So, but there's no way to manage public safety only coming in and out of there without gating it and locking it, which you can't do, so.
You can't do it anyway.
Unless they do another entrance, but then this public safety lot doesn't, doesn't do any good.
Okay, well, all right.
Am I allowed
Take
to
care of
speak
that.
at all when y'all were discussing this?
You are.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just to try to help, I just want to make sure we're trying to get to a yes, so everybody can be a little happy. I do want to do a knockdown gate on Timmons, but I would like to, those separate with a private gate, Fig Tree. I would still like to access the entrance right there for our second entrance. Would
Which
be,
one, right here, right there?
yeah, yes, sir. And then we would do the private gate and move it so that it's still private and separate from the original subdivision, but that they still would have two entrances. And then we would be getting rid of the Timmons improvements.
Right.
And zero traffic would be through there because it would be a knockdown gate. There would be no road improvements. And I do request a slight reduction in the buffer. The buffer, and I say that, the buffer takes away from the usable upland area, so it makes the lots larger. If we could go down, I would love a vegetative screening. So with the word language, it doesn't remove from the upland area, but if we could go maybe down to a 25 or 30, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right. We'll do it.
And then, of course, even if you allow access on the Fig Tree, that still doesn't address the potential, civil prohibition that, the homeowners covenants may contain. So that's a separate issue. But if you allow it, at least with respect to your approval, it will be allowed as far as the common access on Fig Tree.
Yeah. So you're saying that's a civil matter?
Well, you can now. I mean, you don't have to prohibit it if you don't want to. I mean, if you want to allow the two exits with the understanding and the condition
The
that
gentleman that
Timmons
said, though, he
View
would,
will
if that's,
not,
he
will
said.
not
if
provide
that-
access
yeah.
to the subdivision.
He said if that's the case, he'll honor it. If that's the, he didn't know about it, so let's receive that from him. Okay.
So, okay, so with respect to access, there'll be no access, and the condition will be no access to the subdivision from Timmons View
Right.
or along
Big.
Lake Bluff Road. But at least with respect to the county's approval, they can share common access along Fig Tree to the extent that private documents allow it.
Okay. Okay.
And with respect to the buffer, we've discussed buffers along Kings Road, Lake Bluff Road, Timmons View. If it's a shared entrance along Fig Tree, I'm not sure if that's necessary, a buffer, or required. Was the concern be a buffer along Fig Tree as well?
I think just buffer around the current subdivision.
Yeah, we can do 30 feet with that.
Now, Kim, you're talking about a natural buffer, right?
Vegetative, yeah.
Okay. With all, Mr. Brown, do you have most of that?
Mr. Krebs and I did talk, he talked about possibly moving that gate, and I've looked at it, but the way that the wall is that comes up on the gate, I mean, moving it to where it was, it would cut across two current lots that are already divided out, so I just don't see how that could work, but I mean, if they showed us the pictures of residents, maybe.
Adam?
If we would look at those, the lots near the front have not been sold, so we could look at doing something with those.
Okay.
Either green space or making them part of the subdivision
All
or
right.
what,
Okay.
need a site for a well. So there's multiple things we can do.
Okay.
And we still need a mail kiosk, so.
All right, thank you for your conciliation, sir. All right, Kenny, you have all that down?
Yes. Well, I think we're going to have to rely on the voice recordings as well to some point.
Okay,
But
all right.
essentially everything they've agreed to tonight, as well as the special stipulations.
And we
will-
appreciate the sentiments of the constituents, and we appreciate the sentiments of those who are working on the other side. All right.
Mr. Chair?
I told someone that it works better when two sides can get together prior to coming here.
So just to make sure we're on the same page, the rezoning is to R20. There'll be a setback, the width, what width would you prefer? With various widths have been
40.
requested?
40.
40?
He said, Adam
A
said
40-foot buffer,
Vegetated.
vegetative buffer along the perimeter of the subdivision to include Kings Road, Fig Tree, Lake Bluff Road, and Timmons View Road. No access from Timmons View Road. And then no lots, no lots facing Timmons View Road will be permitted either.
Or Kings Road, wouldn't it? The lots wasn't gonna face Kings Road either, were they?
Well, a buffer will be required, so.
Okay.
There won't be, yes, sir. And then I think we should, even though regulations say, I'm not sure if, is a community water system required, Jeff? It is, okay, per our ordinance. Okay, we don't need to worry about that. And then the last issue, if you want to provide a greater setback, that's your prerogative. The current one now is 35.
35, that's right. He's asking for 25-foot front, but the ordinance for R20 requires 35.
Right.
35 then.
35.
35.
35. So consistent with the R20 voting, no variance or special condition there. All right. And I believe that's it. We're leaving the septic issue for
For the
a
next-
separate matter.
yeah, we-
And I think, does that address most of the audience's concerns?
That's what was expressed. Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
The petitioner would have liked the 25-foot setback.
Yes.
For the record.
And then the only other additional condition being, if the Fig Tree access is shared, that suitable gated entry will be constructed for the benefit of the existing subdivision, as indicated by the project engineer.
Which one you talking about now, Kelly? The one that's already gated now?
Right, I think the engineer said they would have to relocate the gate, and there was some concern expressed about how to
Giving
do
up a couple
that.
of
But
lots.
one of the conditions would be that a suitable gate, would have to be constructed based on the relocated design. And that was something that was indicated by the project engineer.
We're not accepting any of the roads as far as maintenance, right,
No,
Mr. Chairman?
no.
Nothing that's out there?
No,
No.
no.
And this is, again, just limited to rezoning, but as Joey mentioned, now is the best time to impose whatever conditions you think are best to mitigate any adverse impacts of the rezoning.
All right.
All right.
Chair, I make a motion that we rezone 211.02 acres, A1 to R20, with all the stipulation that has been mentioned, that has been recorded by our county attorney, county administrator, to be inserted, and that these stipulations are to be carried out regardless if the land is sold or anything else.
Second.
Motion and second, we approve the rezoning requests as stated, as will be formulated in sufficient manner by our county attorney and our county administrator. Any further discussion? All right, there we go. All in favor, show of hands, please. All right, passed unanimously. All right.
One abstention down here.
Yeah, abstention there. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, Chairman, you want me to press on?
Yes, sir, press
Okay.
on. Yeah.
All right, our next request is a variance request by the same applicant, Kings Plantation LLC, for the Fig Tree subdivision to be developed with individual septic tanks as opposed to community septic systems required by the Liberty County Code of Ordinances. Property is located at the south end of Colonel's Island on Fig Tree and Kings Road, and you see the parcel number. This is the classified ad in the Coastal Courier and the sign on the property for this hearing. And again, you've already seen the vicinity map, you know where it is. And you see you've seen the zoning map already. This is their narrative, just saying that they would prefer to, as you've heard much testimony, they would prefer to do individual septic tanks for these 237 lots rather than do a community sewage treatment plant for these lots. This is that letter that was missing from the last presentation. It is here. It does in fact exist. And the health department has looked at this, the 50-bore test that he gave to them, and said that it appears that this entire development would be suitable for half-acre lots. But you saw that condition that Mr. Walden brought up, that this still has to be done on an individual lot basis according to the state's requirements in order to actually get that permit approval. And this is the part of the ordinance, the UDO ordinance, which is also continued over from your original ordinance, has been in there for at least 30 years, stating that variances are required when someone is wanting to put in more than 50 septic tanks in a development. So you can see that that's why they're here before you asking for this variance. And the conditions for granting the variance, we've got 4 conditions there. They're unique physical circumstances or conditions, including irregularity, narrowness, shallowness of lots, or exceptional topographical or physical conditions peculiar to this property. Our answer there is no. Number 2, the application of the requirements of this particular property would create an unnecessary hardship. Our answer there is no. Number 3, the variance, if granted, represents the minimum variance that will afford relief and will represent the least modification if possible, and our answer there is no. Number 4, the variance, if granted, will not cause substantial detriment to the public good or impair the purposes or intent of the division, and we've answered that one no, and then I referred you back to the letter that I just showed you from the health department stating that they believe this property is suitable for half-acre lots. Just looking at, with a lens of history, these are the subdivisions that this board has granted this same variance for over the last 25 years, beginning in 1999 with a neighboring property here, Half Moon Plantation, was granted a variance for 64 lots on 37 acres back in 1999. You can see all the other ones going up forward to the most recent one, which was in 2023 at McIntosh Lake Road. Lamar Smith was granted a variance for 105 lots on 126 acres. Also, you can see right here for the Bill Carter Road that was talked about earlier, in 2022, they were granted a variance for 145 lots on 150 acres. So I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have about those. And Planning Commission heard this at their last meeting, and they recommended approval with special conditions. And those are the standard conditions. The special conditions are that this must be approved by a community water system. You just took care of that with the zoning action. And the second point there is actual lot sizes and dimensions shall be determined by the Georgia Department of Public Health permitting process. However, minimum lot sizes and dimensions shall meet or exceed those required by the zoning districts. You just took care of that as well. So I'd be glad to answer any questions. And Mr. Chairman, this has been
Any
advertised.
questions for Mr. Ricketson? Yeah. Mr. Brown, you said you had someone to,
We do not have a separate sheet on that, but there may be some here that want to comment.
I know Ms. Ryan said she wanted. Ms. Ryan, you want to? Yes, okay.
Again, I have notes. Y'all wouldn't expect any different from me, would you? I do understand, like I spoke earlier, that the request for the variance for individual septic systems as opposed to a community septic system. I do disagree with the special conditions. It seems like this request is actually, and I don't know that it was really kind of focused on, but it seems to me that this request is actually for two variances. The first variance being for a variance to have individual systems as opposed to a community septic system. And then the second variance is a variance from the terms of your variance as detailed in the subdivision ordinance of your UDO. And it is listed in the papers, but not in a lot of detail. But what it does state for community systems, in areas not served by municipal sewer systems or other public systems, a community sewer system shall be installed in subdivisions with 50 or more lots or with the potential of 50 or more lots. You may request a variance. The first variance is a variance from this requirement for subdivisions with 50 to 100 lots or the potential for that many lots may be granted by the governing authority if all lots are 1 acre or larger and the soil conditions are able to support the required number of on-site sewage disposal systems. The second phase of that variance says, for subdivisions with over 100 lots or with the potential for more than 100 lots, a variance from the requirement for a community sewer system may be granted only if the lots are 5 acres or larger, the soil conditions are able to support the required number of on-site sewage disposal systems, and if the conditions for granting the variance as outlined above exist. The special conditions that were presented to you and recommended by the LCPC recommending board was for the zoning as it was zoned, and y'all zoned it for 20,000 square foot lots, which is slightly under half an acre. In your ordinance, there's no reference at all to half-acre variance from this request. The smallest acreage size that y'all have in your ordinance is 1 acre. So that's why I kind of alluded to my request for 1 acre special condition on the zoning. I don't know the science of it all, but I'm quite certain that the 1 acre and the 5 acres weren't just pulled out of the air for no purpose. There's a purpose for this. Otherwise, why would you even have it? Because the half-acre lot size is required anyway. So, I mean, there would really be no purpose to have this in the ordinance if you're going to grant the variance for a half acre anyway. So that's why I would respectfully request that at a minimum you do your smallest variance, which is 1 acre. And when you look at, what the variances are, it is for, the minimum, go back to your wording on here, and I know that that was one thing that was listed. The variance, if granted, represents the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible. And that answer was no, because it is not the variance that grants the minimum variance that will afford relief and the least modification possible. So I would request that the 1 acre lots be granted for this particular variance request. I do understand that the smaller the lot size, the more economical the development is, and we're certainly not trying to, make something that's not, or request something that's not feasible for the developer, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're being responsible to the, to the environment and for the purposes that were outlined, so. And also, I did look, in the Georgia Department of Public Health, they do recommend lot sizes, minimum lot sizes of 43,560 square feet, which is 1 acre for septic. And it does go on to say that local governments are ultimately allowed to determine their own lot size minimums, but the Georgia Department of Public Health, they do recommend 1 acre lot sizes as well. So again, just looking at your ordinance and what it states, if you grant anything smaller than 1 acre lot sizes, I just don't know why that's even in the ordinance, but I say that respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Oh, I'm sorry, there's no list. Yeah, yeah, all right. Anyone else want to speak to the variance request? All right. Adam, you can, okay.
Just to address a couple of things, so I'm a little confused about what Ms. Kim read about the 1 acre. I know the state the request is if you have individual well and septic, you have to be 1 acre. But the state minimum suggestion is half an acre if you're on a community system with septic. But we got to get this permitted through the health department, and we'll be going by their regulations.
Yeah.
But happy to answer any questions. I gave a decent spiel on the first time, but any more questions anybody has, I'd love to answer them.
Yeah.
Adam,
Yes, sir.
on the irregular, if you're out in the area where I live at and you got 1 acre of land, you have to be real careful on where you put your septic and where you put your water, right?
Yes, sir. There's minimum radiuses around the well. Yes, sir.
Let's say I've got, like in this situation, you've got public, community water. Does that narrow it up any?
Yes, sir. You have more options on where to put it. There's still requirements from property lines and from buffers like the marsh and from any standing water, wetlands, stuff like that. So there are still requirements to put them in a certain area, but you can put them in more areas. It's easier. Yes, sir.
So with it being community water, that narrows it up. That means you can go to a 1/2 acre, 3/4 acre, or something like that.
Yes, sir. That's the requirement. To go down to a 1/2 acre, you have to be on a community system, either municipality owned or recognized by EPD. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I was trying to recall, Trent, you may have to help us. The discussion, and we're gonna move on back into us late. I know we went through a whole lot of conversation. Bring me up to, yes, Kim, yes, we do have ordinance, but you're right, local governments are given the leeway to make variances. That's what.
Yes, sir. So
Whether it be the
update
county or the city of Hinesville.
Yeah, one of the things that happened with McIntosh Lakes, or Flemington Forest, what it was called.
Yeah.
We were working on the soils, everything was kind of okay. We were able to do the soils report and just the size of the system because of the height of the groundwater and the slow percolation rate was going to drive the cost of each individual septic system up to where the developer chose not to go that route. So you can still do it, but it's just becomes expensive because when your percolation rate is slow, your system exponentially is larger.
Okay. Thank you. I just knew, without remembering exactly, that there was some rationale that we used to go ahead and approve that, yeah.
Yes, sir. And, I kind of mentioned it before, and I talked to Jeff a little bit, and not that we have to do this right now. At some point, we may want to look at some sort of performance-based decision on how to do this, because there are several places that should not get it, and there are several places that could get it.
Could get it, okay.
Mr. Chairman, just to echo your comments on that. The reason that the septic tank was being used in there was because Mr. Smith was gonna tie on to the county water system. Ain't that correct?
Yes, sir.
So that takes care of that.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I just didn't recall the conversation.
Our perk rate's fast and our water table is pretty good, so
Yeah.
just gonna add that.
Thank you, Adam. Okay. All right.
Chair, I make a motion that we go ahead and approve the individual sections based on, community water, which should narrow up the lake limitation,
Yeah.
only, and only based on.
Yeah. Mr. Brown, I saw your eyebrows go up. You got that in? Okay. All right, second.
Second.
Yeah. Your motion and second. That was close. All right, close. All right. Any further discussion?
Is there a time on that for a second?
Well, okay.
Okay.
All right.
There we go.
All in favor, show your hands, please. All right. Approved? Okay, all right.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we're moving on to our third zoning item
I need to
tonight.
come, okay.
This is a zoning petition that's been submitted by Mr. Joseph Maley to rezone 2.71 acres of property on Islands Highway from AR1 Ag Residential to AR1 and SFMH, which is Single Family Manufactured Home, to C2 Commercial for a restaurant and retail space. This property is located at 2679 Islands Highway in unincorporated Liberty County, and you can see there the parcel number. You got the ad in the Coastal Courier and the sign on the property. This is looking back toward Midway. And you can see here, this is Islands Highway. This is Dorchester Village Road where it comes back into Islands Highway. This property has got frontage on Dorchester Village Road and Islands Highway. It's got double frontage. And this is the zoning map. You can see that the property is largely zoned AR1, but there's a small portion of it that's zoned for SFMH. See the flood map, there's no floodplains in this property, but there is some adjacent across Dorchester Village Road. And the wetlands, there's some wetlands nearby, but no wetlands on this
It's
property.
you, Amir.
His narrative is
You
pretty
or
short.
Stevens?
It says, owner wishes to expand offerings of a premium local shellfish and other seafood on the site, dining, alcohol on premises, takeout, catering, including on grounds, processing product to require smoking, gift shop, gallery for local art, periodic promotional events to be conducted outside with music. And it says adequate parking exists, even though the adequate parking is unpaved. And this is the plat, just showing the property again that I showed you earlier. Islands Highway here, Dorchester Village Road here in the rear. And this is the site as it currently exists, small residential structure on the property, and it's been used for a number of years for processing oysters. Zoning analysis, number one, does this property have reasonable economic value as it's currently zoned? Yes. Number two, does the proposed use conform to the JLUS study? It does. Number three, does the proposed use conform to the Liberty County Comprehensive Plan? The comprehensive plan designates this property as residential low density. Number four, will there be an adverse effect on the value and usability of nearby properties? Our answer there was yes. Number five, will the proposed use be suitable in view of nearby uses? Our answer was no, because it's predominantly single-family residential around it. Number six, will the zoning proposal create an undue burden on transportation, streets, utilities, public safety, and schools? Our answer there is no. Number seven, would this allow a short-term gain at the expense of our long-term goals? No. Number eight, would this change cause a domino effect and encourage sprawl? Yes, it could certainly encourage others to ask for the same zoning. 9, are there unique historical sites that may be adversely impacted? We haven't noted any. Number 10, as you saw, this property is not in a flood hazard area. Number 11, is this spot zoning unrelated to the existing pattern of development? Our answer there is yes. And number 12, we have not identified any unique conditions that support approval or denial. And LCPC heard this at their most recent meeting, and they recommend approval. I'm sorry, they recommend disapproval. So I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have about this one.
What was the reason for their disapproval?
I can tell you that nobody came to the Planning Commission and spoke against it, and the Planning Commission accepted the staff recommendation of denial because we just had these meetings out at the coast, these planning meetings a little over a year ago, and we had some discussions about stopping development just beyond Brigden Road and, you know, tapering back down to residential and low-density development, and that was the basis of our recommendation because we had just had these meetings recently, and we had a lot of strong sentiment from the neighbors out there that they wanted to see development stopped at some point. And I think what was agreed to was just beyond Brigden Road, and that's where the road is scheduled to taper back down to 2 lanes.
But I was under the impression that they were talking about like warehouses.
Industrial.
The topic at the time was definitely big box warehouses.
You're right,
that's
sir. You're right.
But we did put on our maps that beginning at that point on, it would be low-density residential and agriculture.
Yeah, but we didn't, we were talking about industrial. But let me hear, petitioner here, let me hear that. Come on, sir, give us a little overview of what you plan to do there, and then we'll.
Basically,
Say your name for the matter of record,
I'm
please,
sorry.
sir.
Joe Maley.
Oh, Mr. Miller.
I've been operating a Osbald Oyster Company, excuse me, a wild harvest lease for 20 years. Been operating at that location for 10, going on 11. And just going to enhance what I'm able to serve through agriculture. Excuse me. I can only serve pretty much the raw product. I can sell you a bushel of oysters. I can even shuck you some, but I can't serve you any. I can't do oysters on the half shell or fry them or anything like that. And that's basically what I was after. And it was suggested that, you know, a cold beer would go along good with that. So that was included in my proposal, but I'm not looking to do a roadhouse, excuse me, or Bennigan's or Applebee's or anything like that. So low impact, low density, myself.
Small restaurant with
Yeah.
coastal feel to it.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Okay. So no one came to speak against it, you said? Anyone here tonight who's here because of, okay, all right.
Guess
All
everyone.
right. And I think Commissioner, I think Commissioner Stevens is on point. Our discussion was, and for your board, was that we would not entertain any industrial beyond that road, but we were not against a restaurant that's coming, because those folks say they wanted more commercial. They wanted more commercial, so we were open to that. I appreciate them for interpreting, attempting to interpret, you know, our intentions, but it was not to keep out, if I'm wrong, y'all correct me, a restaurant that could go on Islands Highway.
Well, I know Commissioner Stevens is aware, but there's a lot of people from 95 to the coast that crab and do oysters. So, I mean, I guess you probably got the best place for it to be halfway in there, Mr. Maley, and I mean, that would be something I'd support. I don't mind telling you.
I'm 3 minutes from the 3rd busiest highway in the world. Figure that.
Yeah, yeah. I need a sales tax calculation, Joey. Yes, sir.
Let's stop. Never mind. You know where I was going. See, I got quiet. See, I'm learning. I'm getting older. But just quick question, Mr. Chair, and I guess this goes for Mr. Rickson as well. And I know I've had a discussion about like the zone analysis and how the questions are on there, and a lot of the questions are just one word. And again, there's a couple of them that I just have a question about. Like number 4, will there be an adverse effect on the value and usability of nearby properties? The answer from you all is yes. Can you elaborate?
Did I say yes on that one?
That says yes. Or am I looking at the wrong one? Yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
I think we answered that one because he said that he was going to be providing outdoor entertainment with music and alcohol, and there are a lot of residents that live in close proximity. And we said that before we had a public hearing, and nobody showed up for it, so they
Okay.
proved us wrong on that one, but, or they at least don't care. But, you know, that, he is proposing to do an outdoor venue with music and alcohol, and
Well, let me ask Joey then,
sometimes you get a negative reaction for that.
if I may, please, sir. Joey, so if that, say his music is quote-unquote too loud, our county ordinance would address that?
Noise ordinance, the noise ordinance would
Okay.
apply, nuisance, actually, a public nuisance
Okay.
ordinance.
There we go.
Okay,
All right,
okay.
all right.
That-
And-
So that would be the sheriff's department that would be involved in that.
Not on the public nuisance side. The public nuisance side would be done through a hearing on public nuisance over here, well, actually magistrate court.
And Ms. Miller, point well made, though. We do want to be cognizant of the neighbors in the area and those folk in the area. I mean, you want to go and be a good community partner.
Right.
I'm like Commissioner Walden, the idea of a restaurant, a coastal restaurant in Liberty County, another one, another amenity that Leah can put on her, you must visit, flyers. It's great to us, but please, sir, remember that you have to work with the neighbors in and around the area so you don't do anything detrimental to them.
Every Friday night or anything like that, it's more like the Dorchester Center. They have an event every few
Okay,
weeks.
That's fine.
okay.
I'm just addressing these questions. And can we go to number 8, please, sir? Would this change cause a domino effect and encourage sprawl? The answer to that is yes. And that was another one word.
Yes, if there were a property across the street or next door or
Wanna
down
make
the
it-
road, and they saw that he was doing good, they might come in and want to do the same thing.
Absolutely. So let's go next page, number 11. Is it spot zoning and unrelated to the existing pattern of development? And that answer is yes too, Mr. Sir. So can you elaborate on that? And the reason why I'm calling this out is because I've asked time and time again about updating these questions or having a little bit more detailed answer with this. And you and I both know when you're dealing with real estate, spot zoning and sprawl are frowned upon. Everyone knows that.
Everything you see here is all, everything you see here is all residential or ag.
Absolutely.
This property right here is a property at the corner of Trade Hill and Highlands Highway. Y'all did some rezoning for that for Mr. Gaskin.
Right.
About a year ago. It was already zoned commercial. They just asked for a different kind of commercial. Down here's another one where there's a guy that's been doing boat
store.
repair for many, many years.
Yeah.
And there was a little bistro or something there that y'all approved about 3 years ago, right next to it. But it was next to existing commercial. That was already commercial. Nothing out here is commercial. So
Yes.
this would be a spot zone under the definition because this property would be treated differently than everything around it, except for this industrial over here across the street that was also recently approved.
Yeah. Prior to that, getting to his property, about
strong words.
about less than a half a mile.
Oh, further up, further toward me. I operated a business there 30 years ago.
The Sunbury store?
Sunbury Country Store.
Yeah, I don't know how far that is from your
It's
property, but it's not right across the street.
No, it's not very far.
But yeah, yeah. Also, just prior to his property across the street, there's a guy that operates a crabbing business. Now, I don't know if it's rezoned or he just
Yeah.
doing it.
But Mr. Maley operates a what is it, oyster business there and has been, he said, for 20 years. So we consider that aquaculture, which is consistent with the agricultural zoning. But he said he can't serve it to you on a platter as a meal because that
That's
goes
right.
over into commercial.
Gotcha.
So he's wanting to take that next step and get commercial.
That's what they
And the only reason we pointed this out in our analysis is because there's nothing in the immediate vicinity. It's surrounded by residential or ag property. Now, Chairman Lovett has pointed out earlier in the meeting that we're going to have this meeting out at the coast in January to talk about this plan again. And we do routinely recommend approval of rezonings on highways like this in other parts of the county because the comprehensive plan calls for mixed-use rural, which a restaurant would be perfect for that. But this one just happens to not be called mixed-use rural because they wanted it to be low-density residential. But we can certainly revisit that in January and change Islands Highways to mixed-use rural, and that would give you the ability to consider more of these types of developments.
That's when the oysters are good too, ain't they, Joe? Yeah, about January, be a good place to stop.
Man, I thought it was the artist.
Huh?
Yes, sir. I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go ahead and rezone this piece of property to general commercial.
Second.
Motion and second, we approve the rezoning request as presented. Well, I guess, I can't say as presented because it's presented with a disapproval. That we approve the rezoning request as presented. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, show of hands, please. All right. We look forward to your restaurant, Ms. Bailey. But please be cognizant of your neighbors and, you know, all those things we mentioned. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
January has already.
Saying by myself.
Right.
It's not against that. It's the same thing that we go through all the time. Like, we have to look at these questions and make sure that these questions.
I've asked the commissioner to come meet with your board to discuss that. Or he can ask that you take it back to your board.
All right, last one, come on.
Okay. Chairman, board members, our fourth and final zoning action tonight is a request for a type B home occupation. This has been requested by Lisa Gibson to have a professional dog training business. This is out in the, name of that community? Fleming community, I'm sorry. It's been a while that I've been up here. It's in the Fleming community. And this is the ad in the paper, and this is the sign that's along the front of the property. And this is the vicinity map. Up, you can see it's all the way up Mount Olivet Church Road, almost to Fort Stewart. This is about 17-acre piece of property there, almost at the end of the road there. And this is the zoning map. You can see there that the property is zoned A1 agricultural, and everything around it is zoned A1 agricultural as well. You see the floodplain map here. A good bit of this property is in the floodplain. The home and some of the outbuildings are located right here just outside the floodplain. And wetlands, there are some wetlands on the property, but the center of the property here is free of wetlands. And this is the plan for the kennel, just a basic layout of how they want to contain the animals. You can see the enclosed kennels, the open runs, and they've got a picture here of a sample of the building they'd like to construct to contain the animals. And this is just a narrative. She says that she's a professional dog trainer, and she's asking for a type B home occupation to get a license to train dogs, or she's doing business as Happy Hounds Dog Training. This is a dog training business that specializes in providing consultations and obedience for training dogs of all breeds, ages, and sizes, as well as service dogs for individuals with disabilities. Her business is focused on helping dogs become well-behaved and well-adjusted members of their human families. She thinks every dog has the potential to thrive with proper training. The home occupation requirements as a home business, she understands that her occupations must comply with the county's home occupation ordinance and the requirements of a type B home occupation license. She says she will ensure to make sure that her business complies with all the noise requirements of the county. And she goes on to further talk about what her business plans are. She'll operate from her primary residence there located on Mount Olivet Church Road in Fleming. And she will have, she said she will occasionally have some visitors there that will come and meet with her and their pets to come up with a plan for training, but most of the training will be done without the customers being there. And in conclusion, she thinks that her dog training business, Happy Hound Dog Training, meets all the requirements for a home occupation under Type B classification, and she's committed to doing her business in a responsible manner. This is their home, and this is they're proposing to do the dog training facilities somewhere in the areas that are not wetlands, as you saw in that previous map. Home occupation requirements are listed here. A, no more than one non-resident employee. She doesn't intend to have any at this time, any non-resident employees. B, customers may come to the resident on an infrequent basis during the daytime hours, but not more than one or two at a time. And C, retail sales of goods can only be incidental to the home occupation. Our planning commission heard this at their last meeting, and they recommend approval with standard conditions.
Go back to the previous slide, Jeffrey, if you will, please, sir. So I would think this kind of operation says no more than one non-resident employee.
Right.
That's a low number for the kind of operation she's talking about. She can address it in just a second. And customers may come to the residence. I may come with my wife there, and then somebody else pulls up at the same time. So is that in violation?
I think it'd be hard to control, but if it got out of hand, I think your compliance people would probably come out and see about that. This is the requirements for type B home occupations throughout the county. And
Throughout the county?
yeah, if something got more than what you're allowing here, then you'd need to find a commercial location to do that.
Okay. So this is the unified.
This has been in the ordinance for a long time. These have been the standards for your type B home occupations. We have a lot of home occupations that fit under type A, which we just approve as a staff. It's just internal stuff, internal office type stuff, the computer that don't really need extra measure.
Right,
But
right.
type B occupations that do have an outside impact do require Board of Commissioners to approve those.
Okay. All right. Petitioner's here. Come and say hello to us and.
Good evening.
Hello
My name
there.
is Elisa Gibson. I'm here to get approved for my business license.
Okay.
What kind of questions do you
Just
have?
a little, he read us the formal presentation. You just tell us from your heart what
Yes.
you're trying to do.
Yes, absolutely. I've been training dogs for over 12 years. My main focus is actually service dogs. I train diabetic alert dogs. I train service dogs for veterans. I train dogs for children. I also have a nonprofit organization, but that's not the point here. So I've been doing it for quite some time, and this is what I live for. It's what I breathe, and this is what I do. This is what I love. Dogs are my life. So I bought these 20 acres with the dream of opening up, because I used to live in Long County in a residential area, and still was able to train all the dogs. But yeah, so I bought the 20 acres with the idea to open up a kennel facility. Not so big. It's 16 kennels. I can downsize as well if that would be an issue. I did speak with my neighbors, and they all welcomed me with open arms, and we're really excited about it. So I'm hoping it will get approved.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Have a seat. If we'll, some other people here to speak. Dustin Madden is here to speak. Alyssa Boatwright and Tim Tunis. They left? Okay. Yes. And you are Miss Alyssa? Okay.
I'm actually joined to her property, and I've never met her, so she did not speak to her residents around her.
Yeah.
My property is joined directly. She is on the main road. I'm off of Chevy Road, so I'm actually behind her property.
Jeff, can you pull the, go back? Okay. Keep talking, ma'am. We'll look at it. Okay.
My concern is she's going to be training dogs that we do not know that can get loose. I have animals over at my house. I have a horse. I have farm animals, sheep, ducks, geese, chickens, and this many dogs on the other side that she's training. So how do we assure her? Plus, on top of that, I have 9 head of grandbabies that are at my house all the time. So how are we going to assure that our children in the area that she's training these dogs are not going to get out? How is she going to assure me that my farm animals are not going to be attacked? I have dogs. My dogs do not mess with any of my chickens. More or less, the one I have that goes out, he acts like boom, boom, he runs right between them, But so I have a lot of concerns, and there's other people that I know she hasn't talked to that lives down the road. One of them was Mr. Teston that just left, but he had to go home. So it wasn't spoken to a bunch of our neighbors around us.
Petitioner's on 20 acres, right?
20?
Yes, and it runs right beside mine.
It runs, where
So
was her,
if hers is here, my acres are right behind her.
or behind?
Mom, right around the red.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's on this side. This is one track and that's the other track.
So, Mr. Rickerson, so her track is the one, the little slither next,
Right beside her, right behind her, more or less. Yes. No, no.
No,
Down.
sliver, yeah.
How do you go? I have this right there and this one. So, and that line doesn't go all the way over. But this.
So-
and
so-
this,
so
and
let-
it goes up to the road. So when you turn on Chevy Road, my track starts and it goes around. And I live on
so, I just have a question. So can you, so how many acres do you have?
20.
You have 20, and she has 20. How close is your house? I understand the land,
Between our houses
Right.
together?
because that's 20 acres. That's 40
Yeah, well,
total.
you can see the house
You can see the
from
house?
through the woods.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you can see.
yes.
With all respect, I mean, I can see my neighbors as well. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
that many dogs, children, I have farm animals. My chickens are free roam. My turkeys are free roam. My geese are free roam. My ducks are free roam.
Okay, see, and that's what I'm saying.
So how is the dogs?
But, never mind.
We're talking about half of her track is, the whole back 10 acres of her track is wetland.
Yeah, on my side is wetland and hers. So if she puts her dogs on this side, it's right there at it.
Directly on the property line, basically.
So her wetlands are all through here.
So are you saying the wetlands is a buffer?
No.
I was saying she wouldn't be putting her kennels on the wetland side, which would be the old 10-acre side that is in the wetland. So it's the only 10-acre tract, and the only reason I know this is because my husband and I were looking to buy this property. The 10-acre tract on the backside is complete wetland and cannot be developed.
Because that's where the flow of the water goes.
The front side, where the house and where she's wanting to put the building, is the only high area on that property.
We just flooded. We were part of the flood.
Yeah, that was
The
100 years
houses
flood.
cannot be more than 2 football fields apart, based on the track.
My neighbor is,
I understand you
yards.
have, but I have a lot of farm animals.
I understand.
I have a horse.
and
I have
I-
my farm animals. And my worry is,
So you take that over.
how is she gonna prevent these dogs from getting out?
What's your district?
Or both parties
within your
prevent.
district.
Because what I'm hearing you say, with all due
I'm
respect.
free land, free roam. They don't go on her property.
All right.
They don't go
Commissioner-
through the woods.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner,
Ms. Borders, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
How long have you been living at your property?
24 years.
All right, and I would like to ask the same of the petitioner, Ms. Gibson, how long? Okay. And you, with respect to the comment you made earlier, that you had been well received by the residents of the community?
Yeah, I spoke to,
yeah. Ms. Boatright, let her have the mic, please, ma'am.
So I spoke to the neighbors that I thought were the closest, meaning left in front, 2 doors down, and to the right. And they had no issue. So to me, those were the closest where I would think the noise, if there would be a lot of noise, would make an issue. My dogs are confined. If I'm training them, they're actually on leash, or they're on an e-collar, meaning a shock collar, if we're practicing coming when called. I personally also have dogs that do not go into the woods because I'm terrified that they will get bitten by snakes. I also, the dogs that I have for training, people do pay money and I don't want to lose those dogs. So those dogs will be confined and always under supervision. So, The building of the kennel can also be moved to the right, the area where the number is of the lot. I did speak to the neighbors who are right next to it, and they said they would have no issues if I would put the building there.
Go back to the picture that shows our house there.
This house?
Yes, so those are the neighbors that are the
The
closest.
slide that shows our actual house.
Oh, my house, yes. So it would be to the right.
Back, over here in the back?
Yeah, yes, so it would be more towards the back. And even the kennel area would be fenced in.
But how are you gonna put it there when it floods?
There is no flooding, there is no flood zone. The flooding actually happened more, with the historical flooding happened more to the left of my home.
This is the floodplain, the 100-year floodplain, so your
Yes,
home is
so-
out, but pretty much that area is in the floodplain, but
Yes,
it's not in the
the
wetlands.
wetlands, sorry, I'm
It's
mistaken.
not in the wetlands.
Yes, so it's not on wetlands, so I was told that I also could put the building there.
Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, one of my, guess, biggest concerns, and that's to address the concerns of the residents that are present, that's speaking. I take it that y'all have never spoke with Ms. Gibson, she's never spoke with y'all, never met y'all, and y'all are adjoining properties. And.
But they must be with, they're outside the 200-foot notification.
I got 20, it said within the 20-foot from property lines is where it was located.
But it's 200 feet. Everybody within 200 feet would have gotten a letter.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, yes.
So she must be with that,
She is.
okay.
I guess one of my concerns would be the concerns that she has and that she has never met the petitioner, and her being one of the closest residents to this proposed business, I do have concerns that she hasn't been interactive with her neighbors that you are going to put this property by. If I had to make a decision one way or the other, I would move to want to table this petitioner's request until a further date that would give her an opportunity to maybe speak with the neighbors and some of the others in the community and maybe get a better understanding of the residents and your neighbors, and maybe something can be worked out to everybody's pleasure. But if you would, Mr. Chairman, I could make a motion.
Sure. Your district.
Second. Oh, my bad. Second.
I would like to make the motion that we table any decisions on this request until a later date.
Okay. Motion, and your second, sir?
Yes, sir.
That we table the request. What commissioner, this is a commissioner from your area, ma'am. Many times, just like the group before you all, we kind of, they talk through a lot of things. Generally sometimes before they ever get here, they do that. So by the time they get here, they kind of iron things out. So now that you guys have met each other, maybe you can have some conversation and just bring it back through Mr. Rickerson's office and bring it back to the
The
commission.
concerns could be laid out on both
Yeah.
parties, and you all can come back in front of us,
I-
and hopefully.
It almost always
It
works.
almost, right,
Always works.
absolutely.
Okay, all right. Motion and a second that we table this until further notice. All in favor? All right, yes,
Thank you, Chairman. I will sit down.
thank you all.
Thank you. Long night, thank you. Leah,
All right.
thank you.
CBB update.
We need to make a motion to come out of.
So moved.
We've been here so long, it feels like home.
So moved.
Second? Somebody second the motion to come out?
Second, somebody, anybody.
Somebody. All in favor?
Here we go.
All right. Back in the regular session. Ms. Poole, we apologize for holding, but
You're fine, sir.
you know how government works.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this is our biannual update. So I will go through these slides at warp speed. Let me know if you have any questions. So in the last half of year, because we come before you twice a year, we have celebrated National Travel and Tourism Week. One way we do that is by visiting all of your local hotels to make sure that they feel appreciated, not just the owners, but also the staff members. A lot of those staff members do go above and beyond to try to keep folks in our community, which means keeping their dollars here. We also helped host a Small World Festival with the city of Hinesville. Was very successful here in downtown Hinesville, and you can see a variety of photos there. We did, we've actually done 2 now, but in-center activation with Explore Georgia, we have to purchase these opportunities from the state. We did this at the Port Wentworth Visitor Center. This one was back in February. We just did another one 2 weekends ago. A lot more traffic 2 weekends ago as folks from the north don't go back to school as early as we do. So a lot of that traffic headed to see the mouse in Florida that stop at those visitor centers. I did not realize how many people actually stop at a visitor center. I don't usually do that, but I will make a point to do so from now on. So we got to tell about 250 folks about our community. We also we had a food photo shoot back in June, so we do this regularly as well to help tell about, tell the story of our local restaurants, specifically those locally owned places that we can help promote, like the Oyster Gentleman that was up here earlier. That would definitely be one that we were interested in. Bi-monthly spouse tours, so those are still happening. We do skip those summer months. It's a little hot. And also that's when a lot of those spouses are PCSing from one place to another. So we get usually an influx of spouses in that June and July timeframe. So our next tour is in October. We just had one week before last. And then we did a senior spouse tour. We were invited to do that by Fort Stewart for new command staff spouses. So we were excited to do that. I'm not clicking. It's not going anywhere. Did our battery die?
Probably did.
I think it's been used too much today.
Clint, you drive it?
Okay, we do booths at various events. So on the left there, we are doing the newcomers fairs on Fort Stewart. So we do have to pay for those opportunities. So that's a chance for us to welcome all those new soldiers and their families to Fort Stewart. We bought 12 of those for the year. We still have 4 or 5 more to use through the end of the year. And then on the right, the Hinesville Area Board of Realtors does an event every year for their affiliate members, which we are one of those. So we get to set up and talk to all of those realtors and let them know that we do welcome packets for new homeowners, that kind of thing, folks that are moving to our community. Leadership Liberty, we did host a tourism session. That is always one that we enjoy. Our Y'all tourism session, which is that Young Adult Liberty Leaders program. It's always fascinating to me, the student session more than any other one, to hear what the kids know about our community and what we're able to teach them. So the gentleman on the far left in that picture on the top right, with the curly hair, asked him what his favorite local restaurant was, and he said Zaxby's. So had to have a whole discussion about how Zaxby's is a chain restaurant, which is great, but that doesn't constitute a local restaurant. So then spiraling through what that means and what does it look like, and then taking them to actually eat at a local restaurant. Specifically for them, it was the Smoking Pig in Midway, which most of them had never eaten at, and they really loved. Historic marker cleaning is something that we do every year, so we clean about 30 of those historic markers all throughout the county. We got our first billboard on I-95. You might have seen it. It's at exit 32, northbound, so as you're coming out of Brunswick and you head back towards us. So that is up. We did get a lot of comments on several Facebook posts about this, about spending tax dollars, they were thinking you guys did this. So just for that point of clarification that the chairman always likes to give, hotel motel tax must be spent on marketing our community. So that is our job. That is what we do. So your tax dollars were not spent on this endeavor. This is our soon-to-be mobile visitor center. Her name is Sandra. After Mayor Sandra Martin with the city of Flemington, she was one of the founding members of the CVB and one who really pushed to have this organization here. It is a bus. It is being wrapped by Rapid Signs here locally. Hopefully that wrap is going to be paid for with a grant, which we're excited to hear about soon. But it will be mobile, so we can take it a little bit everywhere. We saw several cities in North Georgia and even Southwest Georgia who've done this. So that they're able to take their show on the road. So if we have Small World Festival, we have Rice Fest, we have whatever, we can go somewhere else to tell people about those things. It's not just us marketing from here. So it really gives us the opportunity to go out and tell more people about what we do. And then, like I said, that it will be wrapped, so it will be a visual representation of our community. We will have a ribbon cutting for it and all the bells and whistles. Since January, we have permitted 2 short films. We've also worked on scouting for 1 feature film and 1 TV show. And then our travel guide, which we have given to you, did win a gold award for print content by the Communicators. Guide won the Communicator Gold Award for print content. I guess I could have just read it. Included some slides here on what a DMO is. Just not going to read all this to you, just for you to have. And then what the definitions of the funding that the CVB gets. So we get funding for marketing, and we get, now that the 8% has passed, funding for product development. So just included those definitions for you and where we stand in our region. So we are number 4 as of the FY22 numbers. The FY23 numbers are supposed to come out in August. It's not August anymore, and we have not seen those, but as soon as they do, we'll be happy to share them. So we are behind Chatham and Glen, which is not a huge surprise. They're a lot bigger than we are, and just behind Camden.
What does Camden have that we don't have? Other than the naval base?
A naval
submarine
base. And the proximity to the beaches and all the other.
Well, you're right. Right across the Florida line, all that stuff.
Yeah. So.
Location, location, location.
But it's a good place to be in that.
Yeah, yeah.
We're in good company.
Yeah, we are.
Any questions?
We are. All right, thank you, ma'am.
I'm gonna leave you then. My dogs want to go out.
Yeah. We got a copy of these slides?
We will.
Okay. All right. Thank you. GDOT.
This is some good news, and it won't take just a second. So this is related to the SR 38 bypass project. The GDOT wants to amend our original PFA, or project framework agreement, to include for us a requirement that we have on that project, include the funding for us. We're required as project sponsor to be able to pay an engineering firm as a standby engineering firm to perform on the job field work as that project goes along, as it goes on by GDOT. GDOT has agreed, if you pass this, to fund every penny of that, up to $100,000. Which is very, very important. That saved us up to $100,000, basically. So I would ask you, if you would please, to vote to approve this supplemental agreement number 1 to that PFA, so that we might get all the dollars we need for engineering.
Mr. Chair, do you entertain a
I
motion?
do.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second. Motion second, we accept those funds from GDOT. Any further discussion? All in favor? Try to get the bypass done.
Well, now, we called it a bypass, and then we called it a truck route.
Freight route.
What is it now?
It is officially known as the State Route 38 bypass, from SR 38 to 84.
We're gonna get a name on that.
Make sure Mr. Donahue gets that in the paper.
You got it.
Because everybody asks me, what is the,
Any updates or reports, sir?
I have several, but in the essence of time, I'll wait till mid-month if that's okay.
Will you?
We do have a couple of executive session items.
Okay.
The first is a land acquisition matter, and the second is legal matter.
Okay, Chair, entertain a motion to go into executive session. Second?
Second, Mr.
All
Chair.
in favor? All right.
Is that clock right?